Meet our academy's favorite punching bag. Everyone laughs at his level 1 stats. But little do they know, our boy is hiding a hilariously dark secret. One day, he strolls up to the academy dungeon right before enrollment. Portals have strict rules, and the guard yells that only level 30 and above can enter. But our absolute madman ignores him, scribbles his name like a boss, and walks right in. Panicking, the guard begs some senior students to babysit him. What the clueless guard didn't realize, these upperclassmen were absolute trash, who loved dragging noobs into dungeons, looting their corpses, and blaming the local monsters. Naturally, they jump at the chance, viewing this lone rookie as a free loot drop from the heavens. But as they creep into the cave, their jaws hit the floor. The so-called loser is casually strolling around, absolutely nuking an entire horde of D-rank monsters with terrifying pillars of fire. The veterans are stunned, but their toxic greed kicks in. With so much roasted monster loot lying around, it's payday. So, these geniuses decide to mug him. They rush him at once, screaming the classic villain line, "The weak must surrender everything to the strong." As they launch their perfectly coordinated attack, our main character just smirks, agrees with their logic, and effortlessly sidesteps every single spell. It is like watching an A-rank god flex on toddlers. He delivers a gut punch to the leader so absurdly heavy he is launched into orbit. Yeah, he might be dead. Our boy then shoots a dead-eyed glare at the remaining punks, warning them that everyone gets a free hospital ticket today. Later, Kiyosuke chills at home, checking his ID. He is no longer level 1. Boom. Level 27. And while he relaxes, we finally learn his completely overpowered, hidden truth. He is actually the reincarnation of the absolute most terrifying, overpowered hunter from 20 years ago. Flashback time. 20 years ago, magical portals rudely interrupted world peace. Since that fateful day, ugly creatures have been swarming the continent, ruining everyone's day. But luckily, humans awakened flashy anime powers to fight back against this mess. Two so-called heroes, Ingolf and Claudia, were busy showing off their talents to the crowd, while their guild, the Golden Seekers, paved a path of destruction. Suddenly, the team spots a totally helpless kid screaming for his life under a monster's shadow. Instead of helping, one guild girl just yawns, and a guy lazily tells her to do her job. The poor kid is shivering on the ground, completely accepting his game over. But bam! A legendary kick absolutely launches the beast into a wall, shattering the concrete. A young hero slides in like a boss between the kid and the monster. Chuckling like it is a casual Tuesday, he asks if everyone survived. Flashing a confident smile, Misato claims the kill. With an explosive boom, our hero leaps, charging his aura. His eyes glow with insane main character energy, and in a flash, he speed blitzes every single enemy on the map. His useless teammates just stand there sweating at his broken stats. Lei, one of the scrubs, explains that Misato's time attribute literally lets him read the future. But honestly, the way this guy fights, he looks like a straight-up glitch in the system. He zips from monster to monster, leaving a neon trail of absolute devastation. After thoroughly carrying the team, the city finally quiets down. As the battle dust settles, the party regroups at the boss room portal. With one final spicy sword slash, Misato deletes the last mob. Happy to finally clock out of work, he charges his mana to lock the portal down forever. But then, the classic plot twist. Wham! Our overpowered hero gets backstabbed, interrupting his cast. He goes flying, but totally sticks the superhero landing despite the cheap shot. He looks up, only to see his so-called best buddies glaring at him, while a ridiculously huge magic trap completely paralyzes him. The guy who just soloed an entire monster army like a tutorial now faces the ultimate stunlock. Even with his future sight, Misato never predicted his own guild's premium backstabbery. Sweating bullets, our hero demands to know why they are acting like trash. "Why do you ask?" sneers one of the guys, laughing like a D-list villain. Nathaniel smirks and hits him with the ultimate edgelord logic. "Because you couldn't predict it." Misato is completely speechless. The girls whine that because he is a level 100 god, he makes it hard for them to farm easy gold. Iwako and Ingolf complain that his annoying obsession with saving lives was totally ruining their vibe and risking their necks. The party leader laughs, declaring his hero complex ends today. "Catch you on the flip side," he mocks, sealing our boy inside the dungeon barrier. Misato screams into the void, begging his trash guild to let him out. As the noble leader, he only ever wanted to save this doomed world from the monster apocalypse. And it finally hits him. These cowards wouldn't even lift a finger to save a single kid. His inner crisis gone. Now there was only pure, unadulterated rage. But his edgy monologue gets rudely interrupted by roars, shaking the very earth. He spins around, ready to throw hands, but gets totally caught off guard. Seriously, what is this spawn rate? Dozens of incredibly ugly monsters are drooling over him like a snack. He immediately triggers his future sight, but every single timeline he checks screams the exact same massive game over. Guess my plot armor just expired. Our hero mutters with a totally sarcastic smirk. Death was literally unavoidable. He realizes these ugly mobs will never stop spawning. Changing this cursed timeline is officially impossible, so he just accepts his tragic fate. Well, mostly. As a monster tosses him like a ragdoll, he gathers his absolute last drops of mana. If he is going out, it will be on his own dramatic terms. Time to reincarnate. He will get ridiculously overpowered and absolutely ruin his backstabbing party members. Fueled by pure spite, our guy goes out with a literal bang. A blinding legendary aura erupts from him, completely flashbanging the entire dungeon. Screaming at the top of his lungs, he triggers the ultimate self-destruct. The glowing magical sparks from that epic boom slowly drift onto some random kid napping in bed. The boy jolts awake, absolutely terrified. Staring into the hospital mirror, he checks his brand new face. Misato smirks. The crazy respawn trick actually worked. He definitely knows this hospital room. But panic hits him. What era is this? If he respawned too late, his former party members might already be dead of old age. Frantically scanning the room, the guy spots an ID card. Oh great, it has been 20 whole years since his explosive exit. Meet Asai Kyosuke, his new meat suit. And wait, this kid has the Void attribute. He grins like an absolute maniac, cackling at his insane luck. In his past life, Misato was a terrifying monster thanks to his time magic. But even time powers were completely useless compared to the ridiculous broken cheat code that is the Void attribute. It is undeniably the most overpowered skill ever. But since the drop rate is practically zero, nobody knows how to use it. Because of that, this poor kid is stuck at level 1, the ultimate trash tier status. He was probably bullied relentlessly for having useless skills. Misato respectfully promises to make this boy an absolute legend. Thanks to his old future sight, our guy knows the secret exploit to unlock void magic. As the hospital room fills with raw aura, he knows he is about to become an untouchable god. And obviously, he will make those traitors pay with interest. But to dish out karma, he desperately needs to grind some levels. He leans back, closes his eyes, and tries to remember the tutorial for this power. His past clairvoyance told him that void magic literally lets you control things that do not even exist. Basically, it is the ultimate reality-bending cheat skill. Sure, daydreaming is easy enough for any normal loser, but turning imagination into solid matter, super hard. Luckily, he has the perfect guinea pig for practice, himself. He channels every ounce of mana into his battered new body. He visualizes every single cell repairing itself. The kid starts glowing like a golden light bulb, and boom, instant full recovery. He stretches out, popping his back, and smirks at his flawless health bar. Though knowing how this crazy magic works, his internal organs are still a little squishy. The more he spams this completely broken skill, the faster he will grind levels. A higher level means crafting even deadlier, more complicated stuff. By max level, literally anything he imagines becomes real life. How completely unfair. He chuckles to himself, absolutely loving this new overpowered setup. Suddenly, a doctor bursts in, looking like he just saw a ghost. Panicking, the guy yells at him to stay in bed, thinking he is half dead. Our hero just awkwardly sits there. The doctor laughs nervously, calling his recovery an absolute miracle from the divinity. Misato tilts his head. Divinity. What the heck is a divinity? The doctor looks at him like he just insulted his grandma, completely mind-blown by his ignorance. He practically yells a history lesson about the holy pentagram. Then suddenly shifting to sweet, the doctor says brain fog is totally normal for trauma patients. Scampering away, the man promises to set up 1,000,000 tests to check his vitals. Our protagonist is left sitting there blinking. Seriously, what was that guy talking about? Grinding levels is important, but he cannot ignore the main quest. He needs to figure out what insane timeline he woke up in. He clicks on the television, only to see a documentary about the disaster from 20 years ago. He completely freezes. The news reporter just named the ultimate villain of the incident, and it was him. The news declared me Misato Kyoiro, the mastermind behind the catastrophe. Absolutely unbelievable. I leap from the hospital bed. How could those backstabbers spin such a ridiculous lie? The broadcast drones on. Apparently I saw the disaster coming but stayed quiet just to profit from it. Oh please. And for miraculously stopping me, my 5 traitorous comrades are now rebranded as the Holy Pentagram. Give me a break. These fakes are now ruling the world as legendary heroes. I step toward the window, letting the sheer absurdity sink in. A dark, desperate laugh escapes my lips. Those cowards didn't just betray my trust. They dragged my legacy through the mud. They smashed my entire life's work and happily stole the crown of world saviors. My fists shake with blinding fury. Forgiveness, not in this lifetime. They are far beyond redemption. I swear on my soul I will tear them from their pedestals. A heavy, suffocating silence fills the hospital room. Snapping back to reality, I force my breathing to steady. Panic won't help me now. If the Holy Pentagram finds out I'm alive in this new body, it's game over. I kill the TV feed and snatch up my smartphone. Time to investigate where this weak body used to train. A wicked smirk spreads across my face. Just my luck. This poor kid attended the academy run by Iwako. Yep, one of my 5 lovely traitors. I chuckle at the absolute irony. Fate just handed me a front-row ticket to revenge. Sitting up, my tactical mind kicks into gear. Iwako is a paranoid rat. I have to play this smart. With my current pathetic stats, stepping up to a boss level is pure suicide. Sighing dramatically, I flop back onto the stiff mattress. My brain screams for blood, but at level 1. I'm just a glorified punching bag. Time to grind. Fast forward through a few grueling weeks of physical therapy and secret training. Stretching my stiff muscles, I'm finally ready to bounce. The poor doctor stares at my chart like it's alien math. He actually asked if some deity blessed my recovery. Nope, just the sheer willpower of a vengeful ghost. I wave goodbye to the stunned medic and step out into the sunlight. The chains are off. And thanks to my hardcore secret grind, I've already blasted up to level 27. I chuckle, itching for a dungeon to truly test my fists. Soon after, I casually stroll onto the academy campus. Hey, Kyosuke. A sweet voice shatters the peace. It's Asahi Karin, this body's worrywart classmate. I play it cool, offering a lazy wave while she rambles on about nearly having a heart attack over my health. Suddenly, an obnoxious voice brays. Well, look who finally showed up. Ah, the academy's resident trash mob has arrived. The upperclassmen swagger over demanding so-called protection fees. Daddy needs some pocket change. The lead punk sneers, getting right into my personal space. Bingo. These are the exact losers who filled my phone with death threats. Before I can unleash a snarky comeback, Karen bravely steps between us. Back off, but her knees are shaking like leaves in a hurricane. I gently pull her back. Thanks for the save, but I handle my own garbage. The goons burst into hyena laughter. Look at the weakling acting tough just to impress his girlfriend. Did you forget your mana circuits are absolute trash? The bully mocks, completely clueless to his impending doom. I stare him down. Know your place, trash. I promised this body's owner I'd clean up his life, and the former guildmaster never breaks a vow. The Sunbay's fragile ego instantly shatters. Screaming in rage, he wildly channels a supposedly lethal spell. Karen panics, screaming that campus magic is strictly forbidden. But this meathead is too triggered to care about rules. The air scorches dry as a massive roaring fireball violently hurtles straight at my face. I don't even blink. I simply awaken my mana. With zero effort, a blazing inferno erupts from my palm, and I casually toss back a significantly more terrifying fireball. Boom. The flames clash in a blinding shockwave. The peanut gallery drops their jaws to the floor. How did the trash-tier rookie just copy an advanced spell? As the thick smoke clears, I brush some ash off my shoulder. Was that supposed to tickle? I ask, dripping with absolute sarcasm. The bully pales, cold sweat drenching his face. His so-called weakling prey just became a literal monster. Panicking, he screeches for his lackeys to back him up. The two cronies instantly charge their strongest combined magic. How cute. I raise both hands perfectly, mirroring their auras. Let's dance. Swatted their attacks away like annoying mosquitoes. The bullies stared in absolute horror. After all, it was totally impossible for a so-called nobody to flex that many skills. Exhausting his zero patience, Kyosuke growled. Are we done playing around? Dead silence choked the courtyard. Then, our boy decided to turn up the heat. Blazing fire exploded from his fist, lighting up the whole academy like a bonfire. The bullies scrambled suddenly, realizing they had poked a literal sleeping dragon. Funny how you ignored me when I needed help, our main character sneered, snatching the leader by his collar. The big bad senior was totally paralyzed with fear. Kyosuke grabbed his pathetic face, letting his fiery aura flare up like a raging inferno. He whispered that trash like him only knew how to bark. Sweating bullets and shaking like a leaf, the bully finally knew true terror. Unloading a massive punch, our hero declared it was payback time, and nobody was going to save him. The air completely vanished as a devastating shockwave of pure hellfire slammed into the senior. Gasping for life, the bully ate the absolute full force of the strike. The massive blast literally blew the rest of his little gang into the stratosphere, while their mighty leader crash-landed like a smoking roasted potato. Karen just stood there, jaws on the floor, completely flabbergasted by Kyosuke's overpowered flex. Shaking in their boots, the lackeys peeled their crispy boss off the floor. Flashing a super smug grin, our protagonist knew his glorious journey to becoming the absolute strongest had officially started. Pin-drop silence dominated the school courtyard after that epic beatdown. Hauling their roasted buddy, the cowardly gang bolted from the scene, screaming out pathetic apologies. The peanut gallery was left totally paralyzed, mind-blown by how crazy overpowered this guy got. Letting out a dramatic sigh, Kyosuke muttered that they were nothing but a disappointing warm-up. Finally, our hero strolled right into the academy with his jaw-dropped friend. But of course, his peaceful school life lasted about 5 seconds. Walking down the hall, the students stared at him like he was the Demon King himself. Scratching his head, he thought, "Oops, maybe I overdid it a bit." Suddenly parting the terrified crowd, a mysterious VIP rolled up. A stern voice called out, demanding to know if he was Kyosuke. The dude asked if they could have a little chat. Our boy took one look and instantly sensed massive supervisor energy. Shrugging off the pressure, he lied that he was super late for class and tried to pull a ninja vanish. "Hold your horses. I haven't even introduced myself," the bossy guy interrupted, blocking his escape. "I am Yoichi Tsudai, the leader of the Biting the Cat clan." Instantly, the girl's eyes widened. That was the exact clan created by director Iwako Kyosuke. Completely froze. "Can you spare a tiny moment?" the man asked suddenly, dropping the friendly act. Welp, our boy knew he was officially cornered, but hey, maybe he could milk this for some sweet intel. Chuckling casually, our guy admitted defeat, saying he had no other choice. Tsudai didn't beat around the bush. He went straight for the throat, demanding to know if Kyosuke was the absolute beast who soloed the adventurers in last night's dungeon run. Keeping his poker face legendary, our student just blinked and acted like he had zero clue what the guy was rambling about. But inside panic mode, there was no way this dean should have sniffed out his secret. The guy smugly explained he caught a rumor about a rogue student crashing the dungeon so naturally he went snooping. And what did he find? A bunch of notorious rookie-hunting criminals completely knocked out cold. Narrowing his eyes, he added that he totally caught our freshman spamming multiple overpowered skills during that little courtyard brawl. But get this, instead of sweating bullets, our young man practically threw a mental party. The foolish dean had no clue about his real god-tier ability. Annoyed Tsudai demanded an answer again. Was he the dungeon crasher or not? Digging into his bag with a sly smirk, our boy played the ultimate victim card, whining that he bumped his head in the morning and had total amnesia. Plus, hello, he was literally only level 1. How on earth could a total noob pull off a stunt like that? The dean's jaw dropped as he inspected the ID card shoved into his face. The supervisor squinted, seeing plain as day that this kid's stats were absolute garbage. Furious and totally embarrassed, he realized he just wasted his precious time interrogating a literal nobody. Grinding his teeth loud enough to pop a vein, the dean completely snapped. Grumbling a half-hearted apology for the hassle, he stormed off. But before stomping away, Tsudai warned him to stop acting so shady, because doing overtime was an absolute pain in the neck. Our hero just watched the grumpy old man waddle away. Just like that, our genius troll easily slithered out of the trap. Flashing a devilish grin, he realized this gullible dean was the perfect target for his master plan. That grumpy guy was the ultimate VIP pass to get close to Director Iwako completely under the radar. Our boy knew if he turned the dean into his personal puppet, he'd be absolutely unstoppable. And the best part? It was the absolute perfect moment to road test a brand new sneaky little enchantment. Meanwhile, in a super fancy office, the humiliated dean wrapped up his totally useless report about the mysterious dungeon incident. Sitting across from him, a ridiculously elegant boss laughed right in his face, teasing that it was hilarious watching Tsudai fail so badly. Smirking, Iwako coldly reminded his underling that he literally told him not to screw this up when picking his pawns. The dean practically folded in half, sweating buckets as he promised to fix this mess. Meanwhile, his boss smoothly stood up. Dripping with deadly intent, this holy pentagram big shot warned that if the media caught wind of his dirty little rookie hunting, side hustle heads would roll. Faster than lightning, the dean's jaw got snatched by the noble. Crushing aura flooded the room. The boss whispered that this pathetic lackey was completely disposable, sending the poor guy into a shivering cold sweat panic. Naturally, our cowardly dean nodded like a bobblehead, but inside, Tsudai was screaming his ego, taking massive emotional damage from this absolute humiliation. His only regret: not milking those bratty students for way more cash before everything went sideways. He ground his teeth so hard they nearly cracked. Strolling back to his desk, Iwako mentioned a tiny, annoying plot hole. The dean blinked like a confused owl. The old-timer pointed out that the alleged culprits were supposed to be third-year academy elites. Yet the official logs proved 0 seniors even sniffed the dungeon last night. Tapping his tablet like a disappointed principal, he turned around. The director threw down 2 options. Either monsters trashed the kids, and Tsudai was playing dumb, or some mystery student served up the beatdown. Staring dramatically out the window, he bet all his chips on the second option. "Did that really go down?" the dean gasped. The boss just nodded, completely convinced of his own genius. Iwako smugly added he was dead right, barring some insane plot twist. Suddenly, a giant light bulb clicked on inside the dean's empty head, remembering his earlier meeting. Could a totally overpowered unique skill be the culprit? He eagerly pitched the idea to his boss. The director agreed, buying the theory. Boom. The dean grinned like a fool, thrilled to finally have a scapegoat. Puffing out his chest, he practically begged to handle the trash cleanup. Sudai was absolutely obsessed with how that pesky kid played him for a fool. Thumping his chest like a gorilla, he vowed absolute revenge. Cut to the dungeon, where the only sound was the spooky crackle of torches. Bam! A massive explosion totally shattered the vibe, echoing off the stone walls, as seniors spammed their flashiest combo moves. Narrowly escaping the blast, a nasty monster totally jump-scared, a random extra. The whole squad scattered like cockroaches. Suddenly glowing yellow magic circles basically flashbanged the cave as a dude charged up his mana. Wham! The beast took a massive sneak attack spell straight to the spine. Shook to their core, the rookies gaped at the smoking, deep-fried monster corpse. Playing the cool guy, the dean ordered his fan club to keep their formation tight. Starstruck, the boys drooled over the director's supposed golden boy. While everyone else was desperate for an invite to his elite guild, our fake prodigy bragged about soloing the entire mob zone. The poor lackeys who actually did the heavy lifting tossed him a hilariously stiff salute. Swishing his cape, the dean dumped the grunt work on them and vanished. Once he was safely out of sight, it was time for his super-secret villain agenda. Whipping out a sketchy, magical relic, he clasped it tightly. Channeling his aura, he booted up the shiny gadget, ordering its mystic chains to GPS track Kioski. The cavern echoed with creepy rattling as glowing chains zipped through the dark. Surprise, surprise, the annoying brat had wandered off alone. The sketchy supervisor sprinted after the signal. His evil master plan, to fake the kid's tragic dungeon disappearance. Honestly, staging an accident wouldn't even raise eyebrows. Considering all the totally weird chaos that erupted the second Kioske bounced back from the hospital. The dean mentally replayed the highlights. Exhibit A, the legendary dungeon newbie disaster. Exhibit B, that brutal courtyard brawl. He smirked, remembering his little interrogation session with the battered bullies. Those arrogant jerks had been crying like babies, begging him to believe that a zero-skill trash-tier rookie had casually reversed their own magic against them. Just thinking about the beatdown gave one of the bullies a literal panic attack, hyperventilating as he swore the loser cast a spell way too overpowered for reality. Rolling his eyes so hard it hurt, the dean declared, that story was pure, unfiltered garbage. Standing up, the snooty supervisor announced this pity party was officially over. Desperately, the bruised ringleader asked what their punishment would be. With a cold shoulder, the dean ordered his top thugs to beat some sense into them, flat out, refusing to coddle pathetic losers who got floored by a supposed weakling. The bullies tried to riot and rush the boss, but got totally manhandled by the guards. Still, one crazy comment finally hooked his curiosity. While getting choke-held, the terrified punk choked out a wild secret, saying that kid wasn't even human anymore. The dean still thought it was absolute fiction, but their pants-wetting terror felt way too real. To test the waters, he dragged Kioske into a sketchy special exam. But in classic main character fashion, the tricky brat just spammed god-tier illusions to fake being completely average. The only way this supervisor could cope was by assuming the kid used a pay-to-win magic item. Chuckling to himself, the dean wondered what cheap hack this total noob used on those students. Up ahead, a monster carcass totally caught his eye. The deeper he walked, the more monster roadkill he stumbled upon. Doing the math, he figured out they had all been roasted by a single fire strike. Wait, were the ridiculous rumors actually true? Still, even if they were a big shot, Dean wasn't scared of a squishy freshman snickering. He boasted that even the director could pull off that cheap parlor trick. Sure, he kissed his boss's boots now, but one day he'd totally take his job. And once he did, he would grab a seat at the elite pentagram and rule the world. His cliched villain laugh totally echoed through the damp dungeon. But to pull off his evil master plan, he had to cover up his shady rookie hunter deals. Kioske was totally ruining his vibe, so the kid had to go. The glowing tracker in his hand started buzzing like crazy, meaning the target was right there. Sneaking a cautious peek around the corner, the man completely froze. His whole coping theory shattered into a million pieces. Kioske was literally using a mountain of dead monsters as a gaming chair. His boss-level aura made the air heavy. Smirking, our hero yawned that he was so bored waiting. The dean ducked back, sweating bullets. How did this kid spot him? How did you notice my stealthy presence? Our hero mocked, literally reading the guy's mind. Yoichi bugged out, wondering if this absolute menace was a psychic. What kind of freak are you? He demanded, slowly creeping toward the boy. Kioske just shrugged, saying he had heard hype about the director's lapdog. But honestly, the guy looked incredibly underwhelming. Staring straight into his soul, he roasted Yoichi for bullying noobs for lunch money, calling him a massive coward. Stammering like an idiot, the bad guy panicked, asking who leaked his secret. Our protagonist just cracked up, hopping down from his fleshy throne. You love playing the big bad wolf, but have you ever been the helpless sheep? The hunter teased as he strolled forward. Time for a free tutorial in terror. Flashing a cocky grin, the main character knew his overpowered stats would make this corrupt boomer completely dance. Sweating buckets, the noble villain glared at the crazy freshman, grinding his teeth as he finally readied his stance. Pushing his mana, a flashy fire sword popped into his hand, cranking the room thermostat to absolute sauna levels. The dean yelled some cringe line about his grand ambition, and faster than you can blink, he broke the floorboards and rocketed at Kyosuke. It was supposed to be a one-shot kill, but our guy sidestepped it like a leisurely stroll. Was that it? The prodigy yawned, casually summoning a sentient fireball that practically growled as he tossed it at the boomer. Slicing the spicy meatball in two, Yoichi smirked, thinking this was the kid's actual limits. Big mistake. From the smoky distraction, a massive lightning bolt completely jumped out. Barely saving his skin, he blocked it, but the crazy knockback sent him flying. Before he could even land, the floor threw a giant tantrum and deadly sand spikes erupted everywhere. He panicked and slashed the trap to absolute dust. Sweating buckets at the freshman's ridiculous skill tree, the swordsman desperately gasped for air. While his brain tried to compute this broken void magic, a massive danger signal pinged right behind him. One frantic look back revealed a totally sneaky surprise attack, and by some miracle he barely blocked the rookie's heavy sword. Tired of getting totally ragdolled, the villain lost his temper, screaming that his precious schemes would not be ruined. Taking a quick breather, both fighters stepped back. Our hero tilted his head and asked what dumb plans he was even babbling about. The villain proudly bragged that he would soon totally outrank his boss. Chuckling like an absolute maniac, he swore he would snag a VIP seat at the legendary Pentagram. The hero dryly pointed out there were other Pentagram members to target. Do you not know the latest gossip? The villain smirked. Yoichi spilled the tea that his boss Iwako was practically kicked out of the cool kids club. The ambitious fool rambled that joining meant world domination, so obviously he would just target the weakest link in the chain. Shaking his head, Kioski looked at him like he was totally pathetic. He roasted the guy's garbage dream, instantly triggering the poor boomer. Our hero sighed, admitting he was actually worried this clown might beat him to the director. But with such a basic tier villain goal, he was honestly barely a side quest. The dean's ego took massive emotional damage, sparking absolute next-level rage. Screeching at the kid to shut up, Yoichi charged like a madman, his shiny aura lighting up the whole cave. Clashing blades, the petty noble threw a giant tantrum, crying about why wanting cash and power was bad. He just wanted the ultimate cheat code so nobody could ever boss him around again. Completely losing his marbles, he shrieked that he totally deserved all the buffs. Yoichi promised that once he hijacked the pentagram, he would finally be the main character. Anything he desired. Plus, knowing everyone's weaknesses meant snagging Bourgeois for himself. Talk about a win-win. Our boy barely stifled a yawn. His enemy's villain monologue was total garbage. He declared it was time to wrap this circus up, shattering his opponent's blade with a single strike. The mighty dean hit the dirt, watching his precious sword rain down as shiny confetti. Our hero politely thanked him for the boring speech since it bought time to prep his spell. The panicked noble squeaked like a rat, begging for mercy. Time to dance, puppet. Grabbing the dean's face, a psychedelic blast of colors hijacked the man's brain. Boom, absolute hypnosis activated. With the lights on but nobody home, Yoichi's mind took a permanent vacation. As the trippy light show faded, so did whatever brain cells the guy had left. Our sly main character ordered his new toy to stand. Creaking like a rusty zombie, the body jerked upward. Yes sir, the meat puppet droned. Kusuke grinned at his shiny new pawn. He ordered him to stick to the main quest. Like an obedient undead, the dean nodded. Kusuke commanded him to act perfectly normal. Instantly, his former bully spun on his heel, strolling off to help his students like nothing happened. This brainwashing trick was totally overpowered, but you had to completely shatter their spirit first. Kusuke smirked. Everything was falling perfectly into place. Exiting the dungeon, frantic footsteps echoed down the hall. Asahi popped up cluelessly, asking where he had wandered off to. Not missing a beat, he claimed he and Yoichi just had a little chat. Puzzled, she asked what they could possibly talk about. Our cheeky hero smiled. Just a nice, friendly chat about making dreams come true. Her eyes sparkled, asking if he gave good advice. He chuckled, confirming Yoichi was about to live his absolute wildest dream. Blissfully ignorant, she cheered for him. Suddenly, the upperclassman lackey barked, announcing this special hell class was finally over. Flashing a sweet smile, Asahi dragged her friend along. Our hero sighed in pure relief. Attending this class was a massive jackpot. He finally snagged the perfect disposable pawn. Meanwhile, the grumpy director demanded updates on the freshman drama. Slamming a laptop down, the dean reported a spicy twist. A student with a totally unique ability was the culprit. He explained this cheat skill void belonged to freshman Asai. He proudly claimed he had the kid locked up and that the brat confessed to wrecking everyone using multiple powers. The boomer director blinked, completely confused, asking what the heck void even meant. Smirking at the old man's ignorance, the subordinate shrugged. He had no clue, but he'd gladly find out. Leaning in like a comic book villain, the supervisor volunteered for some dirty work. Stretching his neck with a creepy grin, the senior thug agreed. Cracking his knuckles loudly, he bragged it had been ages since his last interrogation session. Time to make this freshman pay for the mess he made. Before Yoichi could argue, a ringing phone killed the mood. With a massive sigh, the director shooed the kid away like a pesky fly. He grabbed the receiver, sporting in best boss voice. A woman's cheeky voice purred through the speaker. Well, if it isn't my favorite corrupt director, thrilled. You bought our pitch yesterday. Realizing it was the notorious CEO of Lay Companies, the old geezer growled at her to drop the act. Lele Roxy just cackled, amused. He didn't bite. The sly fox continued, reminding him they were partners in crime, sharing the same pathetic government scraps. Leaning back in his throne, the director sighed that she was as annoying as ever. But he was currently swamped and couldn't talk shady business. Oh, she teased. What on earth keeps the great money-laundering academy director so incredibly busy? Hitting his boiling point, Iwako spat that he was busy investigating some brat with a trash-tier void ability. The woman scoffed. Why bother? What could a total loser with that power even do? The director grumbled in agreement. But a unique skill was still a wild card. Anything could happen. Lele's ears perked up, smelling gossip. She cheekily asked if he meant a catastrophic wildcard, like Masato Koichiro's time ability. The director froze in dead silence. Suddenly, he screeched so loud, she had to yank the phone away. The old man raged that the mere name drove him nuts, ordering her to shut her mouth. Laughing at his triggered meltdown, she teased his hilariously short temper. But she couldn't blame him. Since the day Masato awakened his god-tier power, the entire food chain of adventurers and monsters flipped upside down. Giggling at the chaotic memories, she promised to call back when he stopped crying. Lele cheerfully hung up, leaving him to see the. Chuckling darkly, Iwako smashed his phone onto the desk. Just hearing that cursed name again was enough to make the old director boil with rage. Time to vent some serious frustration. The geezer stomped through the woods. Headed for the shed, he gleefully plotted how to torment the rookie. Mana sparked at his fingertips as he reached for the door. All his Misato-induced stress was about to drop on this poor kid's head. A sharp click echoed, unlocking the entrance. With a dramatic flourish, the old man shoved it open. He mockingly apologized to Sudai for the delay. But surprise, he only found rusty tools and cobwebs. The place was totally empty. Before his boomer brain could process the ghost town, his thoughts got hijacked. Yoichi materialized right behind him, sword drawn. By the time Iwako blinked, cold steel was kissing his nose. Bam! The director caught the naked blade bare-handed. As menacing smoke swirled around him, he chuckled that he was being way too underestimated. He scoffed, claiming the brat's oversized ego must have sprouted from the fact that he was a blessed genius. The old-timer glared as raw magic pulsed from his grip. Did you honestly think you could take me down? The former saint spat, unleashing glowing mana chains that tightly coiled around his prey. In a flash, the kid was completely hogtied and dangling upside down like a bat. Landing a vicious kick, Iwako yelled that this was not even a proper warm-up. Crashing into the dirt, the bound apprentice rolled over like a useless log. Oozing a terrifying aura, the director slowly stalked toward his helpless student, mocking Yoichi for ruining his own life with stupid ambitions. But suddenly, the old man froze dead in his tracks. Still an idiot, I see a completely different voice echoed from behind. Whipping around, Iwako frantically searched. Our hero casually leaned in, teasing how the director always kissed up to the strong while bullying the weak. He smirked, declaring the so-called saint was just as petty and clueless as ever. Veins popping, the enraged director screamed at the absolute audacity, demanding respect for the academy's supreme boss. Yet the mysterious kid just kept casually strolling closer. Blind with fury, the old geezer roared that the trash talk perfectly described the boy. Iwako furiously demanded to know exactly who this punk was so he could instantly expel him. Bursting into laughter, our hero told the old fossil to take a chill pill. He announced he was finally right where he wanted to be, and since he crashed the party, they should throw down one-on-one. How about a little physical therapy session? The kid joked with a massive grin. He then cheerfully asked what the old man thought of the idea. Mana violently erupted from Iwako's hands as he raged at the absolute disrespect. The earth violently quaked, ripping boulders into the air as explosive energy completely dominated the surrounding area. Clenching his trembling fists, the furious saint vowed to show this arrogant brat the absolute difference in their power levels. Activating his ultimate earth attribute, a colossal mud hand violently ripped through the terrain. Completely certain no mere student could dodge this nuke, he let it rip. Just die. The madman roared, aiming directly at the boy's head. In a split second, the massive fist was destined to turn him into pancake batter. The impact connected with a catastrophic boom, sending a terrifying shockwave across the entire forest. Laughing like a total maniac, the old man screamed that this was the fatal price for defying him. Right where the rundown shed used to be, a thick mushroom cloud of dust rose over absolute total destruction. The director just sighed, annoyed that he would have to find a brand new torture room now. Smug as ever, he strolled toward the massive crater to inspect the squashed bug, totally entertained by his own power. Dusting off his fancy coat, he kept chuckling, internally gloating over how annoying that kid had been. But mid-chuckle, Iwako completely froze in pure horror. As the thick dust slowly cleared, a perfect, unbothered silhouette stood right in the center. Jaw practically hitting the floor, the noble stared at the impossible sight. Casually strolling out of the literal apocalypse, the hero dusted his shoulders. "Didn't I say I wanted to chat?" he asked playfully. Eyes bulging like saucers, the director panicked over how a mere kid tanked a disaster class attack without taking a single point of damage. Sweating bullets, he demanded the boy's name. With a cheeky grin, our hero countered, "Take a wild guess." Locking eyes with terrifying intensity, the kid claimed they were old buddies. The director shrieked that he had never seen this freak before in his entire life. "Wow, Iwako, now you are just breaking my heart," the absolute troll laughed out loud. "Did you really forget me?" he teased, striking the exact same legendary pose Misato used to do. With a completely shattered mind, the boomer outright rejected reality and furiously backpedaled away. Trembling like a leaf, the noble told himself his dead rival could not possibly be standing here. But then, a terrifying realization finally clicked into place. Everything. The hero just stares in deadpan silence. "You only read the newspaper, didn't you, you little brat?" The sweaty director spits, grinding his teeth. "Stop playing dress-up." Even after all these years, he chokes on that cursed name. He thrusts his hand up, flashy green magic wraps around his wrinkly arm. "Misato Kiyoshiro is old news," he screams. A dramatic wind kicks up, making the ground shake. Our hero, he just lets out a massive bored sigh. Strolling forward, he mutters, "You always lived in your own little bubble." Panic mode activated. The desperate boomer screeches that if he takes one more step, he is dead meat. The young man flashes a wicked grin. Oh, he has a fun plan. Energy sparks in his palm. Poor little Iwako falling for cheap flattery, he taunts. With a killer smirk, he asks, "Is that why you backstabbed me?" Triggered. The old man totally loses it, blasting a massive hurricane across the whole clearing. Our hero does not even blink. Spell ready, he just waits. Right as the epic blast is about to vaporize him. Smack. He literally slaps it away with his bare hand. The terrifying spell bounces away like a pathetic dodgeball. Cue the cold sweats. The old man recognizes that ridiculous move. It is the exact slap Kiyoshiro used back in the day. Boom. The deflected magic blows up the dirt nearby. Iwako's ego shatters into a million pieces, and he drops to his knees. No way. His betrayed buddy was standing right there, looking fresh out of a magical timeout. Strolling closer, our boy casually confirms, "Yep, I was locked up." His voice drops dangerously. "Tossed right into a pit of pure misery thanks to you." Frozen in fear, Iwako squeaks, "Are you really, Misato?" Getting right in his face, the hero smirks. "Took you long enough. Glad my biggest fan still remembers me." Iwako's brain short-circuits. How is this even logically possible? Suddenly, he springs back up and starts throwing a tantrum. "Do not play me for a fool," he screams. "You would have had to die and respawn like some video game character." Green light flares up around his shaky hands again. The blinding aura fills the space as the boomer yells that ghosts should stay dead. Pew pew pew. He fires off razor-sharp wind blades straight at our guy. But without breaking a sweat, the hero just hops backward. Swoosh, swoosh. Total misses. But wait, there is a sneaky attack from above. A giant dirt fist tries to squash him flat. He sidesteps it with a cheeky grin. Jaw on the floor, the director watches the crazy acrobatics. He knows he is completely outmatched, but he scrambles for a master plan. Back in their glorious guild days, he was just the useless guy in the back, getting bullied by everyone. Not anymore. Desperate to prove he is not a weakling, he squeezes out every drop of magic. The terrain goes wild. Burning all his mana, he charges up a super-secret combo move that took 20 long years to invent. Wind and earth finally together. All his pent-up middle-aged rage gets dumped into this one sparkly spell. Take this. His fancy, never-before-seen dual attack launches. The trees violently shake. A massive shockwave tears through the forest. The boom is deafening as the blast hits, scattering rocks everywhere like deadly popcorn. "How do you like my ultimate magic now?" The old guy pants, totally out of breath. He stares desperately into the giant dust cloud. Crickets. The chaotic battlefield goes dead silent. Oh, thank goodness. The guy starts cackling like a maniac. I did it, I made history, he cheers, doing a mental victory dance. I just solo killed the arrogant Misato. The old snob starts hyping up his own 20-year training arc. 20 long years of grinding. Back then, he was just a background extra in their famous squad. But now, he is having the best day of his miserable life. Do not underestimate my grind, he shrieks. My saintly power levels are off the charts. He finally stops to breathe. In his head, he is already accepting his golden trophy. No one can mock him anymore. He is going to be the strongest boss around. Are you done talking? A smooth voice cuts through the air. The old man freezes, dusting off his perfectly fine jacket. Our hero was politely waiting for the villain's monologue to end. Legs turning to jelly, Iwako stammers. How did you dodge that? The young man asks if that was his best magic. The hero chuckles, radiating absolute smugness. Obviously, I am completely fine. I am the main character of this era after all. Stepping closer, his true terrifying aura finally erupts. With a dark, happy smile, he cracks his knuckles. Time to beat you up without holding back. Losing all hope, the pale director realizes. This overpowered monster is not even human, but he is too stubborn to quit now. Shaking like a leaf, he braces for the beatdown. Raising his arm, he channels his magic. A massive earthen hand erupts right next to our hero, who just stands there completely frozen. The old geezer smirks, thinking he finally bagged his prey. But our boy just yawns, sighing like he's bored out of his mind. Casually popping up a water shield, he mutters that his old buddy is still way too loud. Splash. The earthen hand crumbles against the barrier. Furious, the geezer snaps, asking if a simple shield is enough. His smug attitude shatters instantly at the disrespect. Screaming at him to back off, he summons razor-sharp wind blades. They shoot forward, but our hero simply makes one lazy flick of his wrist. Whoosh, the blades miss completely, whipping up a literal hurricane. Covering his face, the director desperately braces against the devastating counterpressure. But even pouring out all his mana, he is ridiculously outmatched. The gale launches Iwako backward, slamming him brutally into a giant tree. Blinking away the stars, he looks up. Misato is right there, hands glowing with lethal flames. The only move left for this pathetic guy. Hitting the dirt and crying for mercy, smashing his forehead to the ground, he desperately tries to apologize. Our hero just stares down with dead, unimpressed eyes. Because he knows the old snake's real plan was to fake a surrender and launch a dirty sneak attack. Slicing through the fake tears, our protagonist bluntly tells him to shut his trap. A terrifying demonic aura explodes around him. You sealed me with this exact same trick back then, and I'm not falling for it twice. Now actually fearing for his life, the geezer squeals, begging Misato to remember their supposed friendship. But the hellfire in Misato's hand only burns hotter. You gave up the right to say that. The second you turned me into an avenging demon, bam, a crushing blow sends the traitor flying. A crazy barrage follows, mixing every single magical element like a deadly smoothie. The director staggers backward, his mana core completely emptied out. With his vision fading to black, he can only see the terrifying shadow of his former friend. Absolute despair hits him. He really shouldn't have poked the overpowered monster. Boom. An apocalyptic strike connects, launching him like a ragdoll and obliterating the entire landscape. The massive explosion turns the whole forest into a smoking crater. With his final breath, the geezer wheezes out a request for one last question. Misato just snorts. Why bother? You'll be knocked out before I even answer. Time skip. Iwako finally wakes up from his forced nap. Looming over the loser, Misato smirks. Look who's finally awake. The old guy shrieks like a banshee, frantically scrambling away and dragging his battered body through the dirt. He sobs, begging not to be deleted from existence. Relax, idiot. I'm not killing you, our protagonist sighs lazily. Stepping closer, he traps the panicking old man right against a tree trunk. Dropping into a villainous tone, Misato demands answers. He pulls out a familiar-looking smartphone and dangles it right in front of him. Spill the tea. Tell me every single thing about this woman in your contacts. Le Ruakshi. The old man yells that it's his phone, making a pathetic grab for it. Smoothly dodging the clumsy swipe, our hero points out the juicy call history. This lay chick literally just called him this morning. Flashing a death glare, he demands the exact conversation details. Sweating bullets, the old guy stammers out that the woman is flying to Japan in 3 days and just wanted to catch up. Misato chuckles, thoroughly satisfied. Looks like in 3 short days, his next prey is delivering herself to him. Tossing the phone back, he casually drops his next master plan. Take your trash back. From now on, you will act completely normal around Lei, the young man orders, hitting the dirt with the device. He fiercely warns Iwako to keep his reincarnated identity an absolute secret. Pointing straight at the geezer's chest, he casually mentions planting a tiny little death curse on his heart while he was knocked out. Flexing some flashy magic, he threatens that if Lei finds out his true identity, his heart is going to have an explosive little accident. He violently crushes a fireball in his palm, and the terrifying spark completely traumatizes the old man. "Don't break your promise now," Kyoichiro whispers, turning his back. But inside, our overpowered protagonist is dying of laughter. He doesn't even use that specific type of fire magic. Seeing the geezer trembling like a leaf, he realizes his epic bluff worked flawlessly. "Know your enemy's paranoia, right?" As Iwako cries on the ground, our boy smiles. Mind control is too easy. He wants this traitor fully conscious and sweating bullets. Fast forward 3 days. Lei Ruakshi is chilling in first class, cruising straight toward Japan. Her loyal assistant, Yang, politely informs her that they are basically touching down. Over the intercom, the sweet voice of a flight attendant chimes in to announce the final descent. But right before the announcement even finishes, ear-piercing shriek, Lei and her lackey jumped. Out of nowhere, a masked goon grabbed a flight attendant while his buddy screamed, "This is a hijacking, folks." They waved their flashy guns at the terrified passengers, ordering everyone to eat carpet. But Lei, she just stood up and casually strolled over. The bad guy kept barking threats, swearing he would shoot. Big mistake. In a flash, she blitzed forward for a brutal strike. One punch, and the dude was dreaming on the floor. His pals barely blinked before she unleashed a flurry of flawless kicks, dropping the bandits like bowling pins. The crew's jaws practically hit the floor. They gasped. It is Lei Ruxi, the pentagram saint herself, and cheered their VIP savior. Once the bird safely touched down, the cops dragged the bruised hijackers away. The saint and Yang played it cool. An old suit waddled over, showering her with gratitude. Putting on her best halo, she claimed it was pure luck batting her eyelashes, and bragging about saving the airline's stock price. Meanwhile, her assistant poked at a confiscated gun. Lei chimed in, "Ah, dungeon tech. Slips right past airport security like a ghost." She dropped some fake concern. Gangs these days are getting spicy with dungeon loot weapons. The suit panicked, muttering about upgrading his team's arsenal. "Yeah, like that shiny toy you were hiding." She smirked, patting the poor guy's trembling shoulder. He practically folded in half, bowing, swearing he would buy whatever she was selling. Cut to the terminal. Lei was on her phone, ordering the hijackers released. Talk about a plot twist. Yang chuckled about their flawless theater acting. Ruaki beamed, bragging that faking a terrorist attack was actually pretty fun. "We got the PR and the weapon deal." She gloated, strutting down the concourse. Facing a mob of screaming fans, she figured this stunt was the best marketing campaign ever. The crowd chanted her name like she was a goddess, and waving her fake saintly hand, she exited the stage. Next stop, the academy, rolling up in a slick limo. Stepping out in style, the clan boss smirked. Time to handle the real shady business in Japan. Up in the big boss office, Principal Iwako was sporting a sour face and a whole lot of fresh bandages. He nearly jumped out of his skin at a knock. Lei waltzed in with a sickeningly sweet smile, playing the polite guest. Once seated, she got straight to the tea. "So where is this magical void attribute kid you promised me?" "Sweating bullets." Iwako lied through his teeth. "False alarm. The kid is total trash, completely useless. A unique attribute, but total garbage." "How tragic," the fake saint mused, sipping her expensive tea. The principal was internally screaming. If he spilled the beans, the magic curse on his body would literally pop him. Setting her cup down, her sweet mask dropped. "Now let us talk real business." Looking like a textbook villain, she demanded an update on their illegal drug production and who their next student guinea pig would be. Chuckling like a maniac, Lei praised the genius of using school kids as lab rats. Meanwhile, our main character was chilling outside, listening to every dirty word through a bug. They kept listing poor victims, but our hero was practically gagging at their villainy. "What an absolute clown show," he muttered, eyes burning with icy fury. He promised the only one tasting true despair would be Lei herself. Over on the TV screen, a news anchor was hyping the daily gossip. Lei the pentagram saint graced Japan with her presence. Leaning against the wall, he rolled his eyes as the media worshipped her for the fake plane rescue. He glared at her smug face. 20 years ago, she stabbed him in the back. Now she was playing the holy savior while getting filthy rich selling shady dungeon weapons. Connecting the dots from the bugged office chat, he realized this entire magic academy was just a giant illegal pharmacy. Tossing on his school blazer, he scoffed at the irony. A saint on camera, a total snake in the shadows, literally using kids for profit. Cracking his knuckles, he decided it was time to crash her little party. Stepping out into the sunlight, he strolled through the academy halls, swiping through his phone. Time to plot some glorious payback. Reading the headlines, he smirked, recalling how he had already bypassed their pathetic security. finally arrived. But his deep thoughts get ruined by his classmate, Asahi Karine. She blasts him with a cheerful good morning, and he lazily waves back. Peeking closer, Karin teases that he is totally nerding out over that article about St. Lei. He plays it cool, claiming he's just window shopping, but Asahi is straight up fangirling, saying that woman is an absolute boss for wrecking those thugs. She casually drops that the great serpent of Chongshan clan is wildly popular. Ding. The main character's internal light bulb goes off. Karin explains, the CEO literally built this guild, and their roster is stacked. Remembering Lei's scary squad, he realizes the truth. Those guards were totally members of the clan. The girl mentions everyone wants a cushy military job and asks his plans. He's about to drop a hard nope. But wait, mid-sentence, his big brain activates. Why not use this exact serpent clan to totally sneak right up to the boss? Boom, master plan unlocked. He abruptly thanks Asahi for the free idea and dips, leaving her totally confused in the hallway. Meanwhile, in the director's office, a sudden phone ring makes the poor guy jump out of his skin. He picks up only to hear our boy Kiichiro casually demanding a teeny-tiny, totally normal favor. Sweating bullets, the director listens as the mastermind feeds him a literal script for when Lei inevitably calls. Cut to a super creepy villain lab. A poor guy is tied up while sketchy doctors furiously scribble on their clipboards. The test subject is practically groaning his lungs out. Suddenly, the automatic doors slide open, revealing our favorite psycho boss. Lei struts in with her assistant Yang, laughing like a maniac, and cheerfully asking the victim how his day is going. The guy begs them to stop the sketchy drug cocktails before he croaks. For his whining, he gets a swift, brutal heel right to the face. Ouch. Pinning his head to the floor with her fancy shoes, Lei casually mentions that lab rats don't get voting rights. Flashing a gorgeous but terrifying smile, she tells him to stop being such a crybaby. The dude is terrified while Lei pitches the classic villain line. You'll get super strong if you don't explode. Stepping back, she orders round 2. The doctors, acting like mindless, non-player characters, immediately close in on the crying man, prepping a ridiculously oversized needle. Before he can even scream, they pin him down and pump him full of mystery juice. The guy tries to speak but just aggressively coughs up a lung. One doctor wrestles him down while Lei watches like she's at a movie theater. The victim totally short-circuits, lying there drooling with his eyes rolled back, mumbling pure nonsense. Lei coldly takes notes, observing that this time the side effect was losing speech. Plus, the item is completely useless without magic. What a total bust. She turns and drops the classic line. I need more guinea pigs. Striding out, Yang, trailing closely, notes they are running out of fresh victims. Lei agrees. Casually scrolling her feed, she signs off on the evil corporate strategy. Let's do a fake recruitment drive. Hopping in the elevator, she dials up Director Iwako to demand those magic-wielding lab rats she ordered earlier. She makes it clear, bring me kids, with good magic, or else. Taking his cue, the director puts on his serious face and pitches Kiichiro's genius idea. How about an academy tournament arc to find the absolute best candidates? Lei actually chuckles, admitting the old boomer has a brain after all. Hitting the ground floor, she promises to drop the schedule as soon as possible. Meanwhile, the sweaty director hangs up, celebrating that he survived another day as Kiichiro's secret pawn. Fast forward to a massive school assembly. Lei's assistant drops a nuke on the student body. The legendary Great Serpent Clan is hosting an open tryout for fresh meat. The students lose their minds over this once-in-a-lifetime ticket to the big leagues. But Kiichiro, he flashes a devious smirk. Everything is going exactly to plan. Time for Phase 2. Inside a massive stadium, hype levels are off the charts. An examiner steps up, thanking the clueless students for offering themselves as tribute. He launches into the exam rules. Meanwhile, our boy schemes. To infiltrate the clan and get close to Lei, he actually has to pass this thing. His days of playing it quiet with the director are officially over. It's time to be loud. The young mastermind calculates exactly how to bait the attention of Yang and the snooty judges. Staring down the yapping examiner, he realizes there is only one way to win this. Flex your overpowered abilities. His eyes lock in. But just as he's looking incredibly cool, leaning against a wall, someone ruins the shot. Karen trots over, asking the obvious. Are you here for the exam? He nods, asking about her. Internally, he's screaming, please don't ruin my villain. Infiltration plot. Karen gets all bashful, admitting she totally lacks main character energy for this. But wait. She hits him with the classic anime girl trope. I have my own secret reasons to fight. Suddenly, glowing with power of friendship vibes, she suggests they conquer this exam as a duo. Trapped by politeness, our guy just nods. His resolve hardens. Failure isn't an option. The proctor drops the mic, officially declaring the start of the magical power measurement exams. He points at a glowing orb, explaining that this crystal ball scans the raw magical power of anyone who pokes it. The terrified students line up. The grumpy men in suits bark orders to step up one by one. A random guy struts up, acting super tough, screaming while slapping the stone. The examiner just sighs out loud, aggressively scribbling notes. Another proctor calls the next victim. Our guy strolls onto the stage. He politely bows to the grumpy man, flashes his ID card, and gives a totally basic greeting. The examiner barely nods. Glancing at the file, the dude sees he is level 30 with the trash tier void attribute. He secretly rolls his eyes, expecting absolute garbage from this kid. But with a cheeky smirk, Kyoiro casually touches the orb. Boom! The little machine literally erupts into a blinding disco ball of colorful laser beams and insane waves of pure mana. Terrified, the examiner desperately covers his eyes, to avoid going blind from the orb going absolutely supernova. The crowd of students drop their jaws. They get completely blown back by the literal hurricane of magical energy. When our young flexor removes his hand, the crazy light show stops. With a straight face, he casually asks if that was good enough. The stunned man frantically screams, "Yes." He completely strolls off like a boss, while the evaluator aggressively writes down that this monster is definitely an S rank. Next up is the skills test. Coded in a sick mana aura, our boy casually whips up a basic earth spell. The examiner smirks, thinking he can only make a pathetic ball of mud. He literally laughs internally, assuming raw power means absolutely nothing. But right on cue, our boy flashes a cocky grin. Bam! He instantly fires off a second spell, popping out a perfect sphere of pure water. His flawless control completely breaks the examiner's brain. Before the dude can even pick his jaw up, our protagonist begins spamming fire, lightning, and literally every single elemental spell, like it is an absolute joke. He juggles multiple glowing spheres of different elements, making them orbit him like a personal solar system. A spectator screams in pure panic that he somehow activated all the base elements at the exact same time. How do you like those apples? Watching the so-called useless void attribute absolutely break the entire magic system is hilarious. He internally flexes. After the crazy test, Karen runs up to him jumping like a maniac and fangirls over his insane performance. He gives a cool thanks, telling her to crush her exam too. She stares back with blazing determination. Now standing before a sad little plant pot, it is her turn to shine. With an elegant swoosh, she unleashes a blindingly golden magic. The dead little sprouts are completely swallowed by her aura and instantly spring back to life. The tiny buds explode into full bloom, glowing with a sparkly magic. When the flash fades, the sweet girl is standing by absolutely massive, gorgeous blossoms. Of course, the standard peanut gallery starts laughing, mocking her for just playing a cute gardener. But our main character's eyes go wide. Wait, could that actually be the ultra-rare light attribute? He totally realizes how ridiculously scarce that holy power is. Karen shuffles away, looking completely crushed. He sighs, realizing these basic evaluators have zero clue how to grade such a broken support skill. He genuinely feels terrible for her. But honestly, he is secretly super happy she won't be dragged into his chaotic revenge plot. Meanwhile, creepy Shinyu is staring at her like a hawk. The shady assistant literally texts on his phone that Karen is prime bait for their sketchy, illegal drug trials. Yikes. Back at the lineup, the grumpy evaluators finally announce the grand finale. A brutal combat duel. Assistant Yang wildly gestures toward a squad of intense warriors. He smirks, declaring them as the final boss opponents. One terrified kid in the trembling crowd literally squeaks, "Wait, are you forcing us to fight the infamous Serpent clan?" With a super fake, reassuring smile, he tells them to chill out. He claims the scary warriors are just grading their potential, and losing literally means absolutely nothing. But deep down, the guy is laughing like an evil villain. He knows damn well these pampered kids will get entirely destroyed. A massively buff dude cracks his knuckles. He lets out a villainous chuckle, pointing at our boy, asking if he is the rookie acting all high and mighty today. The meathead smirks, admitting the kid got some fancy grades. But now he's gonna beat the harsh reality of real combat into him. Our guy just gives a cute nod, playfully saying he hopes to learn a thing or two. Snorting like a pig, the absolute meathead brags he will finish this in one punch. Flexing his earth magic, he charges up a massive boulder strike. The referee yells go, and the dude just chunks giant rocks right at his face. Our absolute unit of a main character simply drops into a stance. Tapping into wind magic, he completely warps the air currents. The massive boulders literally freeze in midair. With just a super casual, lazy flick of his wrist, he totally reverses the stone's momentum. Boom. The rocks rocket straight back into the warrior's face. The big guy desperately crosses his massive arms trying to block his own attack. The warrior's brain practically short-circuits. He is screaming internally. How did this random kid swat away his magic with a simple flick? Sweating bullets. The Snake Clan dude jumps back. But wait, The kid literally vanished into thin air, leaving him totally bamboozled. Before the brute can even blink, our boy teleports right behind him. Checkmate. An ultra-sharp ice blade is chilling right at his throat. He sarcastically asks if a cheap distraction really counts as actual combat. Sure, he learned a ton today. The judge crowns Kyoichiro the winner. He drops his magic and is instantly mobbed, leaving the crowd totally speechless. Meanwhile, Examiner Yang's jaw hits the floor. He stares at the kid, thinking, wait, he just wrecked a certified clan member. Suspicion alarms blaring. Yang wonders who this monster actually is. Later that night, our villainous Lei is chilling in her fancy armchair. Listening to the post-exam report, she yawns dramatically. Bored out of her mind, she asks if any entertaining little lab rats survived the maze. The guy on the phone hesitates, then drops the bomb. One specific rookie completely stole the show. Oh, an amusing little brat. She purrs with sudden interest. Assistant Yang hypes the kid up, claiming he obliterated the trials with absolute style. But here's the kicker, the boy wields the ultra-rare void attribute. Lei taps her chin, remembering the director gossiping about a freak like that. Suddenly, she leaps up with a cartoonishly evil smirk. Jackpot. She cackles, realizing she just scored the ultimate human guinea pig. Her wicked laughter echoes through the room. Cut to the terrified rookies huddled in the main hall. Assistant Yang struts onto the stage to reveal the survivors. Drumroll, please. He crowns Asai Kyosuke as the grand champion of first place. But our main character just stands there looking dangerously edgy. The salty losers whisper that the whole exam was rigged, and his victory was painfully obvious. On the inside, though, our boy is doing a victory dance, thinking everything is going perfectly according to his master plan. Now he can finally infiltrate Lai's inner circle. Snagging second place is none other than Asahi Karin. The announcer shouts her name, making her jump 10 feet in the air. She squeals with pure joy while a bewildered Kyosuke stares at her. Wait, they dragged her into this mess too. Doing the math in his head, he realizes the clan was basically handing out free passes to anyone with a weird attribute. It hits him like a truck. This shady academy is clearly cooking up a massive, sketchy conspiracy. Glancing at the clueless Asahi, our hero bets his life that she was chosen for a much darker reason. She beams at him with a smile brighter than the sun, blissfully unaware of the danger, and he just sighs, throwing a soft smile back at her. Whatever, he mutters in his mind. I'll just have to make sure these creeps never even look at her funny. Channeling his inner badass, he locks in on his mission. He will crush his enemies and play the ultimate bodyguard at the same time. Fast forward a few days. The lucky survivors are dragged all the way to the ultra-fancy Japanese headquarters of the Chang'an Serpent clan. Young Shinyu steps up to give the classic corporate greeting. He announces that today is all about a mandatory medical checkup. Sounds totally safe, right? Wrong. The main character's face instantly turns into a dark scowl. The mention of Lele Roxy's name triggers his battle instincts. Yang leads the clueless newbies on a VIP tour, promising that the big boss will greet them right after their shots. As they wander the shiny halls, the kids are gawking like tourists. Asai is itching to go hunt down the villainess right this second, but he knows he can't just ditch Karen in this snake pit, totally blind to his panic. She looks around and mutters that massive supervillain lairs give her major anxiety. He just nods totally, agreeing with that vibe. Turning to him, she confesses that even though she is terrified, getting hired by the Serpent clan is a dream come true. Trying to play it cool, Asai asks why she is so obsessed with joining this shady organization anyway. Rubbing her neck awkwardly, she drops the tragic backstory. Her mom's hospital bills are ridiculously expensive. Suddenly feeling like a jerk, our hero realizes she didn't walk into this trap for glory or power. She is just trying to save her family. Snapping back to reality, his protective instincts go into overdrive. Up ahead, Shinyu points down a creepy staircase like a horror movie villain. Bingo, Asai thinks. This is the real dungeon. The rookies stumble into a dimly lit high-tech basement swarming with intimidating guys in black suits. One look at this freakish lab and our protagonist instantly connects all the dots of this massive conspiracy. Without missing a beat, Assistant Yang barks the order to seal the exits. Click. The heavy doors lock, making the poor students jump out of their skin. Smirking on the inside, the main character thinks classic bad guy move. We are officially hostages. Two terrified extras nervously walk up to Yang, practically begging to know what on earth is happening. Yang drops the polite act instantly. Glaring with pure malice, he orders them to shut up, nearly making them pass out. Like I said earlier, he sneers, grabbing a sketchy vial from a guard. It is time for your checkup. Cue the dramatic music. Brandishing a syringe filled with glowing red juice, he declares, it is time to test out their shiny new chemical weapon. He brags that this bad boy is brewed from hardcore dungeon juice. It will max out your physical and magical stats, he claims. One student gasps in awe while another awkwardly asks, wait, isn't getting a free power-up a good thing? Asai confidently steps up to the plate, demanding to know what horrible side effects come with it. Yang just bursts into a sarcastic villain cackle. Pointing at a random TV screen, he smirks. Why tell you when I can just show you? A horrifying video starts playing. On screen, a poor kid is screaming his lungs out as a needle plunges into him. The crowd goes dead silent watching this nightmare unfold in pure shock. The test subject on the screen violently throws up spouts total gibberish and just crashes hard. The panicked students scream for answers while Assistant Yang just shrugs. What they just witnessed was a total disaster of an experiment. The ultimate reality check. Are you kidding me? The boys screamed, refusing to become the next lab rats. Sparks flew as they instantly activated their mana. One summoned blazing fire while the other called forth rushing water. They charged straight at Yang, unleashing a desperate tag team attack, while one of them begged to be released. Kyosuke narrowed his eyes. Stay right behind me, he warned Asahi, whose face was completely pale with terror. But Ruaki's top dog just sneered, coating his fists in rock-solid earth magic, and brutally slammed the two boys straight into next week. They coughed up blood and collapsed instantly out for the count. Meanwhile, Shinyu dramatically sighed, crying about his precious lost test subjects. Then his creepy gaze snapped toward Karen. He smirked, suggesting they start with her. Karen froze like a deer in headlights. Prepping a nasty-looking syringe, he gloated about her ultra-rare light magic drooling over the potential data. He stalked toward her like a predator needle, raised and ready to strike, while she stood absolutely paralyzed. But right before the plunge, Asai smoothly slid into the danger zone, shielding the trembling girl. Yang glared, demanding to know his deal. Asai just smirked. Taking out the trash, he casually replied, emotional damage. Yang's ego shattered his face, twisting into pure, unadulterated rage. Barking a single furious order, a horde of suited goons swarmed the young hero. One massive thug threw a haymaker at Kyosuke, but he dodged it like a ghost. With a crackling surge of lightning, he chopped the guard's neck, dropping him with an agonizing shriek. The remaining goons stood there, buffering, trying to process the absolute beatdown. But before their brains could reboot, our protagonist vanished. He closed the gap in a flash, turning the hallway into his personal punching bag. One by one, the guards hit the floor, completely knocked out before they even realized they were losing. Yang's jaw hit the floor. How did a mere kid solo his entire elite squad in 3 seconds flat? Asai glared, declaring that the boss was next, sweating bullets. Shinyu stumbled backward, absolutely terrified by the boy's dark aura. Panicking, he made the dumbest choice possible. He lunged forward, trying to grab Asahi as a squishy human shield. She shrieked, but before a single finger brushed her, Kyosuke caught his wrist in an iron grip. I told you not to touch her. Yang ripped his arm away, leaping back like a frightened cat. His brain was short-circuiting. What the heck was this monster of a high schooler? Normal students do not have stats like this. With his eyes burning like a mythical beast, Kyosuke told him to say his prayers. Yang was totally boxed in. Standing tall, Asai shielded Asahi, radiating absolute boss energy. Out of options, the villain cursed his horrible luck. Kyosuke softly told the girl to stay put, and she whispered a tearful thank you. Behind his broad back, her heart was doing total backflips. He was too cool. Replaying that lightning-fast beatdown in her head, she realized she could not even track his god-tier footwork. Sure, he had leveled up, but this was literal cheat code territory. Glaring at the hero, the villain gritted his teeth, yelling at the kid to drop the attitude. Asai just hit him with an icy stare. One question he demanded, asking why the academy students were being treated like disposable lab rats. Yang threw his head back and burst into a highly obnoxious supervillain laugh. It is simple math, he mocked. Our glorious leader needs their power to evolve. Waving his hands, he bragged that the ultimate drug would grant her absolute supremacy. Kyosuke scoffed, utterly disgusted. Did this clown really think torturing teenagers was a totally valid business strategy? Shinyu just shrugged, claiming they were merely recycling available resources. With a sick grin, he called it an absolute honor for these kids to become biological stepping stones. Asai felt his blood run freezing cold. Flashbacks hit him hard. He remembered Asahi desperately trying to save her sick mother. He remembered her innocent smile, thinking this wretched serpent clan was her lucky golden ticket. Pure, unadulterated fury erupted in the protagonist's chest. He clenched his fists so hard, his knuckles turned white, grinding his teeth to dust. Digging his own grave, Yang kept yapping, insisting the girl should be kissing his boots for selecting her. The absolute audacity. Drowning in disgust, Kyosuke dropped his voice to a demonic bone-chilling octave. Shut your mouth. Boom. An earth-shattering shockwave of pure blue mana erupted from his body, glowing so intensely, it practically flashbanged the villain. Yang shielded his eyes, absolutely trembling at the raw power. Asai's face was a mask of furious vengeance as he asked if this guy had a death wish, calling them pathetic, delusional scum. Behind him, the girl felt her heart flutter at his fiercely protective words. Sweating profusely, Yang felt the suffocating gravity of the boy's aura. Was this god-tier boss really just a teenager? Trying to save face, the villain forced a nervous, shaky smile. Clearing his throat, he bluffed that, normally he would absolutely wreck him, but he secretly admired his insane guts. Switching to sleazy salesman mode, the man smirked and asked if the lackey pitched serving Lady Ruaki like an exclusive VIP pass. Hand over the girl, he smirked, and maybe you will score a fancy executive title. Asai just told the clown to zip it. Our hero was not about to let this trash slide. Yang sneered, promising the kid a brutal wake-up call. Flexing some flashy earth magic, the goon wrapped himself in blinding golden mana, eyes practically shooting lasers. He stomped into a combat stance, cracking the floor like cheap glass. Asai calmly observed the fireworks. The meathead was pumping himself up with body enhancement. Yang bragged that mixing this buff with his martial arts made him an absolute god. He dared the kid to step up. Launching like a rocket, the lackey obliterated the tiles beneath him. In a blink, he hovered above Asai, winding up for a skull-crushing haymaker. But Asai casually sidestepped, letting the gorilla punch a crater into the empty floor. Shockwaves ripped through the room. The jagged cracks barely missed Asahi, leaving her wide-eyed at the brute's sheer destructive power. Yang gave a villainous chuckle, mocking the kid's lucky dodge. Meanwhile, our hero was busy taking notes. That buffing magic was pretty sweet, so he whipped up a plan to steal it. Out of nowhere, Yang charged like a bull, screaming at Asai to stand still and take it. Instead of running, Asai focused his mind, visualizing his own cheat tier abilities. Seeing the kid just standing there like a statue, the lackey laughed. Was he frozen in fear? Had he already thrown in the towel, swinging for the fences? Yang roared for him to die. But right before impact, Asai opened his eyes. Void magic activated. Without breaking a sweat, he casually caught the giant fist. Yang's jaw hit the floor. Trembling, he stammered that this was literally impossible. Staring at the smirking kid, the goon realized something terrifying. He sensed his own signature magic, but cranked up to a godlike level. With a cheeky grin, Asai casually mentioned he could use body enhancement now too. Thanks for the free tutorial, buddy. He cheerfully roasted the lackey, saying he just copy-pasted the skill. After watching that sloppy display, now it was his turn. With one devastating punch, he nailed the completely paralyzed goon, launching him like a baseball. The assistant caught the full force of the blow, his lungs screaming for air. He crashed into the wall, turning the solid concrete to dust. Sliding down the rubble, his brain short-circuited from the sheer embarrassment. Face planted on the floor. He could only wonder what kind of monster he just fought. Asai looked down at the trash with pure disgust. Pivoting to Asahi, he checked on her, and she frantically nodded her thanks. Striding toward the exit, he announced it was time to bust out of this dump. While the bruised hostages scrambled up, the panicked classmates begged to know his plan. He totally ignored them. With a casual flick, Asai blasted the massive blast doors into splinters. Stepping into the hall, our lone wolf ditched the extras. He threw over his shoulder that he had some pest control to handle. Meanwhile, Roxy was rudely interrupted by a frantic phone call. Code red. The caller screamed that her precious lackey got swatted, and all the academy lab rats had broken out. Roxy's blood boiled. She demanded to know what idiot caused this mess. The guard babbled about a terrifyingly strong intruder before the line suddenly went dead. Roxy froze. Anxiety creeping in, she wondered who could possibly breach her fortress. Ding dong. A voice casually chimed in. Asai was already leaning against her fancy office door. Flustered, she demanded his name and his business. The kid smirked, saying his reason was painfully simple. Leaking pure murderous aura, he announced he was here to collect a 20-year-old debt. Roxy raised a perfectly sculpted eyebrow. What ancient drama was this random teenager crying about? Asai stepped closer. Seeing the CEO's blank face, he sarcastically offered to jog her memory. He brought up the legendary SSS ranked dungeon from 20 years back, and how her precious saints of the pentagram became overnight superstars. Roxy practically shot daggers at him, her face twisting into annoyed impatience. Then our hero dropped the bomb. He mentioned the dirty little conspiracy cooked up that exact same day. Roxy scoffed like a true villain, asking why a brat was giving her a fake history lesson. Asai clapped back. These fake saints now puppet the entire globe's economy. She smugly retorted, they earned it by crushing evil. Giving him epic side-eye, the boss lady demanded his actual point. But Asai cut her off. With eyes cold as ice, he shattered her illusion, stating their whole Heroes of Justice fairy tale was a steaming pile of lies. Now genuinely sweating, she snapped at him. This kid's aura had mutated into a total nightmare. Flashing back to that bloody day, he accused the witch of using her own squad as cannon fodder. Remembering those backstabbers bathing in glory, Asai spat that they traded lives for cheap fame and a fat paycheck. With the ghost of his old friend's smile in his mind, he cursed her for still stepping on the corpses of her real allies. Now completely unleashed, our boy innocently asks if he missed the mark. The CEO snorts, dripping with absolute pure arrogance. She wonders what nonsense this kid is smoking, mocking him for reading too many internet conspiracies. But he shuts that down fast. It is no theory. He knows exactly what this so-called saint does in the shadows. With eyes like ice, he drops the bomb. She literally threw her own teammate into a death portal. The saint freezes her brain, completely short-circuiting. Staring at him like he grew two heads, she panics over how a random high schooler knows her dirty laundry. Backing her into a corner, our protagonist smirks. Has she seriously not connected the dots yet? Dropping the ultimate flex, he finally reveals his true identity. Hearing her dead comrade's name drops her jaw straight to the floor. Sweating bullets, she screams that it is literally impossible, but our guy just shrugs. He casually admits he burned his level 100 time skill just to respawn. Her eyes bug out as he reminds her. Did she forget? She used to call him a monster for that exact overpowered ability? Shaking like a leaf, she asks if her old victim is actually standing right here. Deadpan, he confirms it, adding that he knows all about her company's super shady side hustles. With a savage grin, he threatens to cancel her entire career online. She absolutely loses it, screaming like a banshee. Stepping right up to her, our time traveler hits her with the ultimate reverse card. Flaming with pure aura, he brings up the trash she pulled 20 years ago. She completely destroyed his squad's dreams. Glaring at her with enough killing intent to choke a dragon, he promises she is not walking out of this. Feeling the heat, the boss lady forces a crazy laugh to cope. She tells him to check his stats. He is just a squishy student now. Snatching a massive spear off the weapon rack, she snarls that he picked the wrong day to resurrect. Barking that she will pack him up again, she charges her weapon with wild, crackling electricity. In a flash, she drops low and fires off a massive lightning strike that absolutely vaporizes the furniture. The ridiculous blast tears the office apart, leaving huge craters everywhere. But our boy just casually sidesteps it. Posing like a supervillain, she brags about her shiny new corporate toy. She boasts that her research team crafted it from ultra-rare dungeon drops, making it completely indestructible. Launching herself into the air, she promises to give him a very permanent, very lethal close-up of the blade. The saint goes full blender mode, thrusting wildly, while our hero simply dances around her. He literally pauses to study her footwork. Thinking she is winning, she roasts him for running away. But quickly, her villainous smirk vanishes. Sweating drops of pure panic, she realizes absolutely none of her try-hard attacks are actually landing. Completely bored, our overpowered regressor sighs. He finally gets why her technique is such garbage. He bluntly points out she spent too much time sitting at a desk. Yawning, he roasts her, saying she moves worse than an absolute amateur. Massive anime anger veins pop on her forehead. Triggered beyond belief, she screams at him to shut his sassy mouth. The crazy traitor charges up a desperate thunderstrike, hurling her lightning spear like an absolute missile, landing a direct hit on his chest. Panting, she celebrates, convinced she just scored a one-hit knockout, but a cold voice mocks her from the sidelines. Total fail. As she approaches the kill zone, the fake body literally evaporates into sparkly pixels. Whipping around in horror, she spots our main character chilling behind her, completely engulfed in a terrifying fiery aura. Was this his crazy time magic acting up? The boss lady realizes she has literally no data on this ridiculous cheat skill. Snatching her spear back, her brain scrambles for a plan B. Now sparking with raging flames, the desperate saint drops into a battle stance, twirling the blade like a frantic baton. She bets her whole life savings on this next strike. Madder than a wet cat, she shrieks that she will finally silence his annoying trash talk. Swinging with hurricane force, she launches a massive fireblade straight at his face. Rushing in for the epic finishing move, a massive shockwave erupts, but as the smoke clears, the absolute madman does the unthinkable. He catches her ultimate attack with two bare fingers. Glitching out in pure disbelief, she stammers that the developers must be hacking. Looking at her like literal trash, our boy sighs. Is this really her maximum power level? Shivering in her expensive boots, she listens to him roast her 20-year skill issue. Snapping out of her shock, the crazy CEO decides to bust out the forbidden pay-to-win item. Without hesitating, she literally abandons her weapon and sprints right past our confused hero. Wait, what is she doing? Suddenly, the cheat-level protagonist spots her super shady backup plan. Grabbing a glowing red, totally not suspicious syringe off her desk, she brutally jams it straight into her own neck. Boom, a blinding shockwave of chaotic energy explodes, blinding our hero instantly. Clutches the twisted artifact trying to block the blast. Our guy just stares, absolutely done with her drama. Look, he sighs. This is getting ridiculously cliché. A filthy dark miasma suddenly erupts. She violently convulses, her black hair bleaching bone white, while her arms mutate into pitch-black claws. Rocking that gray, scaly skin and glowing feral eyes, she actually asks who the real monster is. Roxy completely delusional cackles like a generic villain, claiming she's totally invincible now. Our overpowered hero just deadpans. Do you seriously think you can win using a buggy, unfinished beta test? Item. The mutated woman literally hisses, screaming at him to stop looking down on her. Do you have any idea how much cash I burned on this? She starts monologuing about mining ultra-rare loot from bottomless dungeons and wasting years refining it. Getting all nostalgic, she confesses that ever since she witnessed his insanely overpowered fight 20 years ago, she has been obsessed with stealing that strength, flashing a terrifying, jagged smile. She brags that she finally found a cheat code that surpasses even Masato. She actually thanks him for the inspiration. Looking utterly disgusted, our boy just sighs. How pathetic. Her ugly monster smile instantly vanishes. She twitches, totally doubting her own ears. Asai does not hold back, relentlessly mocking her. Did you really just claim that garbage surpasses me? Are you seriously flexing about drinking a protein shake? Boiling with murderous rage? She snarls, asking what he just dared to say. The young man literally scoffs. My bad for interrupting your clunky villain monologue. Taking one menacing step forward, Kyo drops into a combat stance. Shrouded in a ridiculously flashy aura of blazing fire magic, he declares, "Let us wrap this up." Roxy morphs into her own battle stance, arrogantly suggesting they settle this whole circus in one single clash to see who is truly stronger. Boom. The ground shatters as the mutant launches herself. She closes the gap in an instant, screaming at him to die as she lunges with a supercharged strike, but our boy just sidesteps it like a stroll in the park. She faceplants straight into a concrete wall, absolutely obliterating it. As rubble rains down around him, his dusty, miasma-soaked opponent crawls out of the wreckage. They lock eyes. Roxy snaps her neck toward the boy and smugly asks for his Yelp review of that pathetic attack, proudly calling it the peak of her research, catching him slightly off guard. The crazy woman teleports in. The blink of an eye. Bam. A supposedly fatal blow lands dead center. The absurd kinetic force sends our hero flying backward, kicking up a massive dust cloud as the entire room shatters into pieces. The mutated boss grins like an idiot, totally convinced she just won. But suddenly, a wave of excruciating pain shoots up her leg. Looking down, she realizes a massive ice spike is completely skewering her feet. While she aggressively crouches and groans, the spike magically vanishes into thin air. From the dust cloud, a very bored voice mentions he planted that trap, the second she charged like a bull. Recognizing that painfully calm tone, Roxy stammers in absolute shock, demanding to know how he survived that. Dripping with absurd amounts of reinforcement mana, Asai sarcastically tells her to thank her own useless henchman for teaching him that trick. Sprawled on the floor like a complete mess, she listens to him critique her life's work. The drug is cute, but it only makes a nice little breeze, completely losing her mind over that burn. The monstrous woman shrieks, "How dare you mock my genius research? Oh please, do not give me that pseudoscience garbage," he snaps. His laid-back vibe instantly drops into lethal fury. Glaring daggers, he tells her that she steps all over innocent lives, and actually has the sheer audacity to call it progress. His murderous aura genuinely terrifies her. Koichiro drops his voice to a chilling whisper. It absolutely disgusts me. The desperate boss violently throws her hand up, condensing every last drop of toxic miasma. Screaming like a total maniac for him to just shut up, she lunges straight for his jugular, but her almighty death strike is casually caught with a bored sigh midair. In one impossibly fluid and brutal countersweep, our boy buries a devastating soul-crushing punch right into her gut. The hyper-concentrated impact completely knocks her soul out of her body. Roxy's brain short-circuits. Wait, is my cheat item broken? She collapses like a wet noodle, while our hero just turns and casually walks away. Right before her lights go out for good, the humbled boss finally realizes. So this is the legendary Koichiro's true strength. Strolling past the smoking rubble like an action movie star, he mutters that cheap shortcuts are never real power anyway. Fast forward to outside the building, where cartoonishly thick black smoke is pouring from the upper floors. A sweet voice calls out to Kyosuke, snapping him out of his cool guy phase. He waves at Asahi and is clearly relieved that she is okay. The girl nods with a soft smile, joking that her overpowered friend looks totally unbothered too. Meanwhile, that massive smoke signal is drawing the ultimate crowd. News reporters are already swarming, confirming the anonymous tip about the evil corporation's headquarters getting wrecked. The young heroes just eavesdrop on the drama. Karin awkwardly asks if this complete architectural disaster was Asai's doing, But our guy just playfully whistles and looks away. Watching the hungry journalists swarm the scene, the protagonist mentally checks off his to-do list. The corporation's twisted crimes will go viral, and those test subjects will finally be rescued and properly compensated. Just as he was deep in thought about how the crazy boss's evil empire was officially cancelled, his lovely friend totally jump-scared his train of thought by softly calling his name. She awkwardly rubbed her neck, admitting she still had zero clue about what just went down in there, but confessed that if he had not played the hero, she would definitely be a goner by now. Standing uncomfortably close face to face, the usually composed girl suddenly got super shy. To his absolute shock, she gave him the most genuine heart-melting thank you. All his battle tension instantly evaporated. Kyosuke softly chuckled, realizing he had almost forgotten. Looking down at Asahi with a warm, goofy smile, the pieces finally clicked. He remembered that playing the hero and protecting smiles used to be his entire reason for existing in the first place. Fast forward to later that night, chilling back at our boy's messy apartment. The living room television is blasting breaking news about the insane discovery of highly illegal human mutation experiments hidden deep inside Roxy's super-secret basement lab. The scandalous revelation completely broke the internet, right after the Saints. The facility was completely trashed by a mysterious attacker. The reporter blared over footage of a massive explosion. Asai just smirked, casually peeling off his uniform. He tuned into the hilarious news that Lei was now suffering from severe memory loss and that her handsome assailant was still on the loose. He chuckled, wondering how the mighty pentagram would spin this absolute PR nightmare. Suddenly, the anchor gasped, announcing breaking news. The golden boy of the pentagram, Saint Nathaniel himself, was stepping up to the microphone. Hearing that cursed name, Asai's smile vanished. He glared at the screen, with the absolute malice of a demon eyeing its next meal. The blonde hypocrite put on his best sad puppy face, declaring he was there to deliver a heartbreaking message on behalf of his comrades. He claimed they were utterly devastated by the tragic attack on Lei. Asai scoffed, his hatred bubbling up like a toxic cauldron. The so-called saint laid it on thick, sighing that they were deeply ashamed for failing to notice or prevent her extracurricular activities. Asai rolled his eyes so hard it hurt. The audacity of these clowns. They were seriously pulling the "we knew absolutely nothing" card. Classic pentagram move. Gripping the remote until the plastic groaned, he realized they were playing the exact same script from 20 years ago. Reflecting on those backstabbing trash bags, he laughed bitterly. 20 years, and they were still the same pathological liars lying through their perfect teeth, just to keep their shiny hero status intact. It was honestly pathetic. To those entitled brats, people like him weren't even noble sacrifices. They were just annoying pebbles stuck in their golden boots. Watching Cavell yap on TV, Asai put the puzzle pieces together. Knowing this snake's track record, the guy was definitely the mastermind behind the grand plot to ruin him. His former teammate was a paranoid control freak, calculating every single move from the shadows. Snatching up his phone, Asai cracked his knuckles. Time to brew some chaos. He scrolled through his contacts, a wicked scheme forming as the broadcast dragged on. Meanwhile, cut to a grand cathedral. A holy woman was intensely praying, interrupted by a little kid tugging at her robes. "That is the news, Lady Claudia," the child chirped. The saint sighed dramatically, begging the heavens to guide them through this PR disaster. Cut again, this time to a gym, where some poor lackey was yelling for Ingolf, desperately reminding the meathead about their super-secret council meeting. Dropping a massive dumbbell with a heavy thud, the giant grunted his acknowledgement. The lackey scurried away, apologizing. Ingolf just ground his teeth, cursing Lei for getting caught like a total amateur. "What the heck was that crazy woman thinking?" he grumbled. Scene shift. Now we are in Nathaniel's high-tech villain lair, staring at a massive screen. The remaining pentagram saints glared back through video feed as the blonde leader clapped his hands. "Let the emergency damage control meeting begin," he announced smoothly. Pacing around the room with his incredibly overpriced laptop, he boldly declared that tossing Lei under the bus resolved their little issue. Claudia, still playing the devout nun, nodded piously. She found it absolutely tragic. Not that Lei did illegal experiments, but that she was dumb enough to get caught. "How did she drag our shiny reputation through the mud?" Ingolf barked, flexing his muscles in pure frustration. Cavell sank into his plush armchair, nodding like a wise owl. "A strategic nightmare," he mused smoothly, spinning the narrative to claim Lei went completely rogue. "She acted entirely on her own." He lied flawlessly to the camera. "We are as innocent as newborn lambs." Listening to this garbage, Director Hideki sweat dropped, thinking this was classic Cavell. Cold, calculated, and ready to discard a teammate in 3 seconds flat. Hideki knew damn well that the Golden Boy had been fully aware of Lei's twisted hobbies. Watching them throw her to the wolves so effortlessly gave the old man serious chills. Gulping nervously, Hideki grabbed a mysterious, ominous-looking letter off his desk. He realized he had to act fast. Just as Claudia wondered aloud about the identity of Lei's handsome attacker, Hideki cleared his throat and stepped up to the mic. "Funny you should ask," he squeaked, holding up the envelope. "This just arrived at the academy, sealed and signed by our mystery guest." The saints collectively gasped. Even Cavell dropped his cool guy act for a second, ordering the old man to read it out loud. Sweating bullets, Hideki cracked the seal. "Guess who is back from the portal, you treacherous losers," he read, his voice shaking. "I am going to hunt every single one of you down. See you soon." Hideki stammered out the final terrifying punchline. "Yours truly, Misato Kyo." Boom. The name dropped like a comedy anvil, leaving the mighty saints in stunned, awkward silence. Claudia's holy facade cracked. "Is it a prank? Someone stealing his username?" She stammered desperately, hoping for a troll. But Nathaniel shut that down fast. "Nobody else knew about the portal," he growled. The ghost of their past was 100% real. "Time magic!" Claudia shrieked. Ingolf just flexed his massive biceps and scoffed, claiming this was no big deal. "If the dead man is walking, we will just bury him a second time," the meathead barked. Cavell smirked, regaining his arrogant composure. "Exactly. No need to ruin our schedules," the blonde snake sneered. "Let us grab some popcorn and see what our dear old friend tries next." "Will do." Later inside Engulf's office, the man dramatically rises. Staring out his giant villain window, he mutters his former partner's name. Grinding his teeth so hard he might need a dentist, he declares. Masato is the one guy he will never ever forgive. Meanwhile, back at Kyosuke's apartment, the director confirms over the phone that the deed is done. The young man nods, chilling like a villain on his sofa. He figures Nathaniel is playing it super safe and won't attack directly. Honestly, that works for him. Once those cowards realize he has returned, they will be running around like headless chickens. He decides to farm the easy targets first, casually telling Hideki it is time to strike. Snatching a document from his desk, the old man nervously asks for the master plan. The boy smirks, saying it is going to be a total breeze. He orders the director to forge the paperwork and transfer him into Engulf's academy. Panicking, Hideki asks if that academy is their next victim. The protagonist nods, noting the short-term exchange program is basically a free VIP pass. The old man sweats, warning that Engulf is squeaky clean. No dirty secrets, no shady business at all. Unfazed, our hero casually says he just wants to see the guy's stupid face. Hanging up the phone, he dumps the boring paperwork on the director. Kyosuke steps out for some dramatic balcony air, muttering that the guy might play innocent now, but that backstabbing snake betrayed him 20 years ago. The very next day, a plane zooms across the sky. Watching it from her boring classroom, a certain girl smiles, blushing like a classic shoujo heroine. Boom, the plane lands. Our main character struts out of the airport, radiating absolute boss energy in Germany. Checking out the scenery and pulling out his phone. He smirks, knowing this fancy German academy is directly linked to his target. Ready to crash the party, he plans to use this school as his personal stepping stone to Engulf. Deciding it is time to play the good student, he strolls down the street. But wait. Suddenly, he hears a girl loudly complaining about some creeps. Pausing his main quest, he spots a classic street encounter. A girl is fiercely arguing with two drunk losers blocking her way. Oh hey, she looks Japanese too, but wait, everyone here speaks a foreign language. No problem. He activates his overpowered void magic, basically turning on real-time subtitles to hear what they are saying. Eavesdropping like a pro, he listens in. One of the drunk guys offers to show her a good time, and his buddy promises it will be fun. Rolling her eyes, the girl snaps back that they are annoying and totally rejects these bottom-tier mobs. The thugs instantly get salty. One of them reaches out to grab her, threatening to teach her a lesson. The girl glares at his dirty hand like it is actual trash. But before she can throw hands, our hero swoops in. Tossing out a cool curse, he tells them to back off. The thug on the left sneers, asking who this random NPC is. Not in the mood, Kyosuke drops another insult and tells them to scram. Triggered, the drunks turn around and activate their fire and earth magic. Shouting generic villain lines about respect, they charge at him with a dual attack. The first guy lunges forward for a punch. Yawn. With a casual flick of wind magic, our boy sends them flying into the stratosphere. Shielding herself from the epic gust, the girl totally misses the thugs, blasting off like Team Rocket. Turning around, she is mind-blown to see them knocked out cold from one hit. Oh my goodness, she gasps. Staring at her savior, the girl wonders who this overpowered student is. The hero just stands there looking effortlessly cool. Suddenly, the troublemakers wake up and sprint away, crying for their mommies. She walks over to thank him, but he brushes it off like a true Chad. Noticing the staring crowd, he awkwardly suggests they ditch the crime scene. The girl nods, completely ignoring the nosy bystanders. Kyosuke smoothly walks away with the girl trailing behind. With a sweet smile, she realizes this feels exactly like that other time. A ridiculously strong guy saved her. After a while, they hit a quiet street. Tapping his shoulder, she grabs his attention with sparkling eyes. She thanks him once more, relieved she didn't have to beat up those losers herself. He repeats that it was literally no big deal, quietly thinking she seems pretty nice. But as he squints at her face, Kyosuke feels like he has definitely seen her before. The girl points at his totally out-of-place uniform, guessing he is a fellow Japanese student. He nods, explaining he is the new exchange student, desperately trying to find his way to the training academy. Lighting up, she volunteers to be his personal tour guide to pay off her hero debt. Grateful to not be lost, he accepts the free escort. Crossing a scenic bridge, he casually asks if she is backpacking the globe and the girl. She gives a breezy nod. Everyone has their own little secrets, right? He casually sizes her up, wondering if they share the exact same age. A solo female traveler is a rare spawn after all. Stepping up, he asks if roaming the globe alone isn't asking for trouble. With a cheeky grin, she brushes it off. She claims she knows a magical trick or two to keep creeps away. Kyosuke instantly recalls her casually dismantling those street thugs earlier. Shifting back to his shiny new academy, she raises an eyebrow. "You actually study there, why is it cursed?" he jokes. She warns that this school runs on a cutthroat survival of the fittest system. It is entirely ruled by absolute merit, featuring a brutal hierarchy where only points and power matter. The strong literally eat the weak here. Our boy nods along, realizing this place makes Japanese schools look like a vacation. Then it clicks. His target Ingolf only bothers to train the absolute top-tier elites. Translation: if he wants to rub shoulders with the boss, he has to crush the competition first. A smirk creeps onto Asai's face. He absolutely lives for this flex. Suddenly his guide points ahead. "Welcome to your new hell." Gesturing toward an absurdly massive fortress-like castle dominating the skyline, she introduces the infamous Lansig Training Academy. Kyosuke throws her a grateful nod, saying he can solo the rest. She smiles back, suddenly remembering her basic manners. "Oh, I completely forgot. I am Shirato Sayuki." Beaming Asai drops his own name and offers a friendly handshake. But the bubbly traveler instantly turns into a frozen statue. She mutters his name like a cursed word, leaving him totally baffled. When he asks if she has seen a ghost, she quickly waves it off. Just a weird coincidence, she claims, passing it off as a name twin to an old buddy. Wishing him epic loot, she vanishes, leaving our hero scratching his head. His gamer instincts are screaming that something is off about her, but he shrugs it away. Pivoting back to the menacing fortress, it is time to face the music. Cut to the campus grounds, our overpowered transfer is casually strolling when a sudden shadow blocks his sun. Perched on a brick wall like a budget ninja, a red-haired punk sneers. "You the new meat from Japan." Asai deadpans, "Let me guess, the local cliché delinquent." The fiery extra instantly gets triggered. "Who are you calling a cliché?" Dropping to the pavement, the punk declares, "We do not get Japanese imports every day. You must think you are a main character." Strutting up like a boss, he promises to crush that arrogance right now. "Consider this your very painful welcome beating." Kyosuke releases a soul-draining sigh. Fantastic. 5 minutes in, and I already triggered a random mob encounter. Recalling the whole brutal meritocracy lecture, the pieces fall into place. This clown just wants to step on the newbie to farm some easy rank points. Unbothered, Kyosuke drops his bag wordlessly, accepting the duel. Backing up, the spicy redhead smirks, praising the noob for not running. Channeling some painfully basic earth magic, the bully summons a few floating pebbles. "Time to die," he screams, yeeting the pathetic rocks straight at our hero's face. Without even breaking a sweat, Asai casually swats the air. The incoming projectiles are effortlessly deflected into the bushes, leaving the bully utterly jaw-dropped. Kyosuke decides it is time to teach a masterclass. Igniting his own earth aura, he roasts the guy. "Cute pebbles, but zero damage. Let me show you what real earth magic looks like." Boom. A gigantic apocalyptic boulder materializes above him. The massive rock launches like a missile, missing the punk by an inch. Blasted onto his butt, the bully screams, covering his face as the boulder absolutely obliterates the campus wall. "Now that is an attack," Asai finishes with a smirk. Trembling like a leaf, the defeated senior stares at the rubble, realizing he just provoked an absolute final boss. Kyosuke just rolls his eyes at the drama. Meanwhile, hidden in a dark alleyway, a shadow speaks into a phone. Target secured, Lady Claudia. Flipping through a heavily classified dossier, the mysterious spy confirms the first encounter. It is Sayuki. Dropping her innocent traveler act, she smirks, promising to stalk our hero's every move. Fast forward a bit. Back inside the academy, Asai finally snags his official student badge from the painfully slow admins. With the boring tutorial quest complete, he is officially cleared to raid the academy's legendary dungeons. Scanning his high-tech ID, he notices it is totally different from his basic Japanese guild card. Spotting the 0-point counter, the brutal hierarchy system suddenly makes sense. This little card tracks every single monster killed and dungeon cleared. Pocketing the gear, Asai realizes he has absolutely 0 classes today. Time to grind some levels. But as he marches toward the dungeon gates, an eerie gaze locks onto his back. As the red-haired stalker watched from the shadows, Kioski made his move. He headed straight for a local dungeon. Staring at the swirling portal, his goal was crystal clear. To reach Ingolf, he had to become the absolute best. Top of the class or bust. Stepping inside, he planned to farm some serious points in this high-level zone. An ancient, crumbling ruin greeted him. Kioski smirked, wondering what kind of welcoming committee was waiting. Right on cue, a bony brigade rattled toward him. These weren't your average Japanese skeletons, though. They were beefy foreign undead. But thanks to his past life memories, he knew exactly how to break their bones. Flames ignited in his palms. A mana-infused skeleton charged, swinging a massive axe right at his head. Swoosh! Kioski dodged it without breaking a sweat. The ultimate anti-undead combo. Pure brute force and blazing fire. Channeling his magic, his fists became blazing meteors. Bam! He delivered a devastating fiery right hook. The skeleton practically exploded in half, crumbling into dust. The rest of the undead crew froze in sheer panic. Who is next? He taunted, waving them forward. Soon the floor was just a graveyard of scattered bones. This absolute massacre clearly led to the boss room. Stepping into the shadowy chamber, his senses flared. A massive reaper floated there, dripping with toxic miasma. Guessing you are the final boss, he muttered dryly. The monster's aura was terrifyingly heavy. Not that Kioski cared. He casually summoned another fireball. Time for the classic undead stress test. He hurled the blazing sphere, but the reaper just raised its staff. Boom. The colliding auras triggered a massive shockwave, forcing Kioski to block the flying embers. Peeking through the smoke, he blinked. The boss had completely eaten his attack without a scratch. Okay, maybe this guy wasn't a total pushover. Before Kioski could blink, the reaper retaliated. A foul stream of purple mana shot toward him. Kioski barely sidestepped the mysterious bubbling liquid. Sizzle! The acid melted the stone floor instantly. Ah, the joys of high-level dungeon hazards. But instead of panicking, a wicked grin crept onto his face. Watching the boss cast an evil idea sparked. I can definitely use this. Channeling wind magic into his legs, he blasted forward like a hurricane. He weaved through the deadly magical barrage with insane speed. Suddenly, he was right in the floating boss's face. The Reaper actually looked terrified. Taste your own medicine. Thanks to his mimicry, he unleashed the exact same acid. Splat. He slammed the corrosive payload right into the monster. The Reaper unleashed a soul-piercing screech. Its literal face melted off in seconds. Kioski landed gracefully as the horrifying boss finally dropped dead. The mighty creature dissolved into useless soot. But Kioski stared at his own fist with a slight frown. Copying that high-tier spell wasn't exactly flawless. He had actually taken some painful recoil damage in the process. Ouch. I really need to level up my void attribute, he grumbled. But then his eyes narrowed sharply. The playful mood vanished. Someone was creeping around. I know you are hiding there. Come out, he ordered coldly. An awkward chuckle echoed from the shadows. Man, I really thought I was being sneaky, the red-haired spy admitted. He sheepishly confessed to watching the whole boss fight. Kioski sighed, wondering if this guy wanted another beatdown. Didn't learn your lesson the first time, Kioski deadpanned. But looking closer, the stalker's vibe was entirely different. His aura felt incredibly weird. The guy was definitely hiding a secret weapon as he cautiously stepped closer. I just want to clear the air, the redhead shouted dramatically. Suddenly, he aggressively reached into his pocket. Kioski's combat instincts flared. Was he pulling out a hidden dagger? A cursed artifact? The tension was peaking. He braced himself for an epic, life-or-death duel. But instead of attacking, the guy violently threw himself to the floor. He slammed his forehead into the dirt in a perfect prostration. Please make me your apprentice, he wailed loudly. Kioski stood there, completely dumbfounded. He glanced down at the deadly weapon. It was a tiny sake cup. The weirdo looked up with sparkling eyes. I read that in Japan, sharing a sake cup means supreme loyalty. Kioski internally facepalmed at this absolute clown behavior. The boy rambled on, offering his services for magic lessons. That boss fight was totally insane. I feel like an absolute idiot for challenging you before he confessed passionately. Letting out a massive sigh, Kioski rubbed his temples. This absolute idiot was way too much trouble. But wait, something terrifying suddenly clicked. Ignoring the dramatic apology, Kioski grabbed the boy's trembling shoulder. Master, are you accepting me? The boy gasped happily. Boom. Before Kioski could answer, the entire dungeon floor exploded. Asai yanks them both clear of the explosion. Dust clears to reveal a massive skeleton dragon. The redhead completely loses his balance, falling over in pure shock. Stepping up, Kyosuke just sighs. So, the Reaper was just the opening act. The bony lizard glares at them, its suffocating mana crushing the air. Kyosuke just smirks. Finally, a real warm-up. Mateo stares in absolute terror at the gigantic beast, its bones dripping with a toxic purple aura. He stammers out that he knows this monster from the textbooks. It is a legendary calamity, a nightmare that wiped an entire village off the map ages ago. The history books say the great Ingolf barely survived killing it. He panics, wondering what a boss like that is doing here. Unfazed, our overpowered hero just nods. Wide-eyed, his fanboy asks if he is seriously going to fight that walking disaster. Asai just tells him to chill out. Time for a quick history lesson. Ingolf did not beat this overgrown lizard for the Pentagram Knights. They just could not swallow their pride and admit that Misato did all the dirty work. So those cowards just rewrote the history books. Armed with that hilarious truth, our protagonist decides to just kill the overgrown fossil all over again. With eyes burning with absolute confidence, he declares, "Playtime is over." But the dragon attacks first, smashing its massive claws into the earth. Kyosuke drops into a fighting stance, locking his terrifying gaze onto his prey. He blasts forward, launching off the ground with a literal sonic boom, and realizes this bone bag is way spicier than the one 20 years ago. But as he casually dodges its deadly strikes, he decides he just does not care. Rocketing straight toward its ugly skull, he winds up a punch. His fist, blazing with apocalyptic flames, packs a ridiculous punch. Bam. The devastating impact completely fractures the beast's thick skull, and the monster's head explodes into a shower of useless bone splinters. Jumping for joy, the red-haired rookie screams like a total fanboy for his master. But hold on, the boss music is still playing. Like a bad joke, the monster starts putting itself back together. A skeleton dragon is practically a cheating zombie. If you do not vaporize every single inch, it just respawns. Well, since punching it did not stick, Kyosuke decides to switch to plan B, totally lost. His brand new apprentice watches with his jaw on the floor. How is this guy so unbelievably chill against a raid boss? Zero hesitation. The undead dragon lunges forward, swinging its colossal weight around. The deadly tail strike nearly flattens the poor rookie. Then, that massive bone whip snaps right toward our overpowered hero, crushing the earth with insane force. But Asai simply sidesteps it like it is nothing. For now, the hero just dances around the attacks, loading up a mental picture of pure destruction. Welcome to the cheat code known as void magic. You literally just imagine winning, and it happens. While our guy cooks up his next move, the furious dragon blasts a giant purple death beam right at his face, point blank. Mateo practically coughs up his soul in panic, but his eyes nearly pop out of his skull when the smoke clears. Asai is literally casually holding the dragon's jaw shut with one hand. Dripping with absolute overwhelming magic, those razor-sharp teeth cannot even scratch his skin. Game over. With zero effort, he preps the ultimate finisher, flash freezing the entire terrifying beast in blinding blue light. The absolute zero energy turns the mighty boss into a cheap ice sculpture. Completely frozen, it is now just a useless lawn ornament. Letting out a breath he did not know he was holding, Mateo is absolutely convinced his new master is an absolute god. A bit later, they are strolling outside, while Mateo bows and scrapes like a devoted cult follower. Asai cringes, telling him to knock it off. Checking his gamer stats, he sighs over his measly dungeon points. He asks his walking encyclopedia how the heck this whole point and ranking system actually works. Mateo eagerly explains that 10,000 points gets you a promotion, and to hit the elite special class, you need a whopping 30,000 points. But here is the cruel joke. Dungeon rewards are flat rates. Vaporizing a legendary boss gave him absolute zero bonus points, earning a pathetic 500 points per run. He would have to grind dungeons 600 times just to rank up. What kind of garbage free-to-play grind is this? Noticing his idol's pain, Mateo quickly mentions a total cheat code to skip the horrible grind. Say less. Our hero instantly invades Mateo's personal space, demanding the juicy details of this sweet exploit. Blushing, Mateo explains the sublime Celestial Festival drops in exactly 1 month. It is a massive tournament arc full of crazy combat and wild challenges, and the champion bags a ridiculous 20,000 points. Hearing that jackpot, Kyosuke's eyes light up with absolute greed. He will crush this tournament and step right over Ingolf. Fired up and completely motivated by laziness, he smirks and vows to absolutely dominate and take first place in this so-called sublime celestial festival. One grueling month of waiting, later the day of the sublime celestial festival finally arrives. Buzzing like a bee, Mateo grins at his master. It is finally time, boss. Kyosuke, however, is dead serious. If he racks up enough points, he can enter the special class, taking him one step closer to the absolute scum who betrayed him 20 years ago. The mission for the event participants is painfully simple: snatch the glowing gemstone at the top of the tower. No matter the method, brawling, sneaking, or parkouring straight up, there is total freedom. The real goal is to flex the absolute peak strength they have built up over time. Kyosuke just shrugs at the wild academy rules. He was born ready. Meanwhile, the redhead is practically vibrating with hype, declaring their dynamic duo will absolutely crush the competition. For this chaotic festival, only tag teams are allowed to register, and lucky for our overpowered hero, he already secured the perfect meat shield, partner. Out of nowhere, a sarcastic giggle cuts the air. It is Shirado. She crashed the party just to watch our protagonist flex his skills. Instantly smitten, Mateo leans in. Master is this cutie, your secret girlfriend, whack. He earns a swift smack right on the skull for that one. But before the comedy routine continues, a sudden gasp ripples through the crowd. Everyone freezes, staring at the giant stadium screen. The elite judges have arrived. But wait, one of them is the legendary Ingolf. The entire courtyard is left in pure shock, especially Kyosuke. The academy staff practically bow down, groveling over his honorable presence as a special guest. The bearded titan just smirks. He is only here to see if these bratty mages actually possess any real talent. All students advance to the tower, the announcer booms. Sporting a cold, serious glare, Kyosuke marches forward, accompanied by his loyal sidekick. They scan the massive, intimidating monument. The ultimate trial is about to begin. Boom. A deafening explosion completely shatters the tension. A colossal red-eyed demon wolf literally spawns right in the middle of the students. Oh, right, they did mention releasing deadly beasts. When Mateo turns to ask his master for a battle plan, he realizes the man straight up vanished. Whoosh! Faster than a lightning strike, Kyosuke is already mid-air, absolutely obliterating the monster. He lands with flawless style, leaving the entire crowd utterly speechless. Kyosuke turns and asks his partner what is taking him so long. Fired up, the redhead yells that he is coming. Up on the giant monitor, our protagonist is a blur of pure focus. Watching closely, Ingolf notices the mysterious Japanese boy and becomes highly intrigued. Meanwhile, the background mob is completely losing their minds. Did he just one-shot that boss monster? Back in the action, Mateo is putting on his own flashy show against the mob enemies. He is practically bouncing off the walls with energy, even after defeating a foe. Seeing his hype, Asai barks an order. Keep that rhythm going, we are not stopping for breath. But as they sprint up the endless tower stairs, the stamina gap between the monster and the mortal becomes painfully obvious. Suddenly, Kyosuke's terrifying instincts kick in. Hold it, he roars. And in that exact split second, a massive explosion blows the staircase right to bits. A nasty, arrogant chuckle echoes from above. Two rival students have just blasted their path into a giant crater. They laugh down at Mateo. Sorry, peasants, cannot hear you from all the way up there. Then the cheating duo waltzes away, leaving our heroes stranded. Panicking, the redhead grabs his hair and asks what they are going to do now. Kyosuke just yawns. It is simple. We just fly to the next step. Fly. Mateo blue screens, trying to process that ridiculous logic. And before his brain can reboot to understand the plan, Kyosuke grabs him by the collar and literally launches them across the massive gap. Meanwhile, the two arrogant cheaters are already near the giant door, where the final chamber awaits. Well, that was a total joke, the blonde sneers, and the pair brags that they would never lose to some random Japanese nobody. But a heavy, bored sigh instantly shatters their gloating, saying he highly doubts that. Kyosuke smirks, explaining that their little fireworks show only delayed his warm-up by 2 seconds. Out of breath but still talking trash, Mateo points a finger. We would never lose to circus clowns like you. Furious, the cheating mages charge their magic power. Kyosuke just shakes his head. Too slow. Boom. Like a literal cannonball, our overpowered hero shoots straight past their defenses. The two fools blink, completely unable to process the speed. Plop, they faceplant into the dirt, knocked out cold. Mateo stares in absolute awe, thinking he did not even see him move. With the trash finally taken out, the heroic duo kicks open the final door. There, resting in the center of the room, is the legendary glowing gemstone. We are number one, the redhead cheers, practically doing a victory dance. But Asai's eyes sharpen. The boss music has not stopped yet. Ominous magic circles erupt around the gemstone. Clank, clank. Towering armored death knights drag themselves right out of the floor. Up in the judges' stands, an organizer leaps up in pure panic. Wait, those monsters are not in the script, but with a wicked grin spreads across Ingolf's face. He knows exactly what's brewing. Let's see if these rookies survive his little test. Mateo freezes as sinister shadow knights crawl from the floor. Kyosuke instantly realizes these hulking creeps aren't human at all. Some absolute madman is puppet mastering this entire undead army. The main character bets his lunch money. It's Ingolf. Far away, a panicked supervisor asks, "Is this insane magic really his doing?" The bearded mage just shrugs. Obviously, winning too easily is just terribly boring, right? He claims true mages must survive this kind of hellish trial. But let's be totally honest here. Deep down, he knows no normal student stands a chance. Sporting a completely unhinged smile, he eagerly waits for the fireworks. Back in the death trap, Mateo is having a full-blown panic attack. Kioski knows. Grabbing that gem means smashing through this armored mob first. They aren't just an endless horde. They look absolutely ripped. Still, our hero sighs. Time to crack some skulls for the prize. Though he's sweating bullets, Mateo realizes running is not an option. He nervously decides to play backup, even if it is just moral support. End quote. But before Mateo can even squeak, Kyosuke blitzes forward. He narrowly dodges a slash from a rusty knight. Another goon lunges with sword raised high, but channeling insane body enhancement magic. The boy completely blocks the blade. With his bare hand, show off. Meanwhile, his free hand ignites with blazing fire. He punches the heavy knight into orbit. The audience watching the trial drops their jaws in absolute shock at the ridiculous flex. Our hero goes full berserker. Using just those fiery fists, he obliterates 3 tin cans at once, launching them straight through the wall. The shockwave literally blows the dust off the entire room, peeking from his hiding spot. Mateo fanboys over his master's insane power. Ingolf raises an eyebrow. Wait, is this kid actually planning to solo the entire mob? Slamming his desk, the grumpy mage smirks. It won't be that easy. Suddenly, the Shadow Knights literally copy-paste themselves. An absolute swarm erupts from the concrete. Annoyed, Kioski sighs. What is this school's obsession with overkill? Shirato bites his nails in the audience. Desperate to see if the overpowered freshman survives, everyone holds their breath for Asai Kyosuke's next move. Back inside, a massive axe shaves his bangs. 30 enemies are swarming him now, but compared to his past traumas, this is basically a walk in the park. 2 brainless knights yeet their weapons at him, but he casually summons a rock wall to tank the hit. Simultaneously, a third bozo charges his blind spot. The boy reads him like a book. His free hand sparks with glowing emerald magic. He blasts the shiny spell, bowling them over. Kyosuke groans. Squashing them one by one will take until Tuesday. He needs a massive screen wipe to delete this server. But with swords flying everywhere, he simply does not have the luxury of time to charge. An ultimate attack, weaving past a sloppy charge. He slaps the ground like a breakdancer, dodging side to side. He avoids pure death. The only cheat code left is a spell he already has memorized for instant cast. Kioski absolutely despises the arrogant jerk who invented this move. But beggars can't be choosers. His eyes flash with terrifying neon light. He activates his overpowered void magic. Gravity literally uninstalls. Rubble floats toward the ceiling like a sci-fi movie. Ingolf leaps from his chair, completely speechless. Down below, Kyosuke T-poses for dominance. A raging hurricane of green aura explodes from his core. He unleashes absolute hell. Bam. It is a terrifying fusion of tornado and earthquake. This crazy storm starts to vacuum up the entire undead army. The energy output is so absurd that a blinding laser beam shoots out of the tower. Boom, when the smoke clears. Only scrap metal litters the cratered floor, and that shiny quest item sits perfectly in front of our smirking hero. Snatching the gem, he chuckles. Game over, losers, Mateo screams. His master won. He jumps wildly. Total victory. The stunned audience finally catches their breath. Ready to scream, Shirato drops his jaw. He recognizes that legendary fusion, this rookie's power, is even more insane than calculated. Ingolf bursts into maniacal laughter. His brain is short-circuiting. Kioski just casually cast a legendary spell that took Iwoko 20 years to invent. For a mere freshman, this kid is an absolute monster. Ingolf vows right then, if this prodigy hits the special class, he is claiming him as his personal student. Anyway, it is time for the grand promotion announcement. Who makes the express class? The crowd roars like a stadium as he struts on stage like a boss. The whispers go wild. This overpowered transfer student arrived 30 days ago, as he basks in the shocked whispers. Mateo puffs his chest with pride. The legendary armband ceremony kicks off. And, for today's grand event, a mystery VIP has arrived. Cue the suspenseful music. Kyosuke narrows his eyes, already smelling trouble. Just as he predicted, the big boss himself, Ingolf, struts onto the stage. Looking like he just bit into a lemon, the grumpy geezer glares at the students while the host nervously hands him an envelope. Kyosuke is honestly shocked. Why would this high and mighty jerk bother visiting a school in the flesh? What is his actual game plan here? Flashing a villainous smirk, Ingolf announces that our boy Kyosuke put on a seriously entertaining show during the festival, keeping his poker face perfectly intact. Kyosuke humbly claims it was a massive honor and snatches the paper. But wait, Ingolf suddenly leans in way too close and whispers a super creepy invitation to his private estate tonight. Mateo's eagle eyes immediately catch this highly suspicious whispering session. Right on cue, Ingolf gives a fake polite wave to the crowd and practically bolts off the stage. Left behind, Kyosuke's brain is working in overdrive, completely weirded out by this random midnight meetup. Fast forward to a gorgeous starry night. The moment our hero sets foot on the massive property, a fancy butler immediately ushers him inside. Talk about VIP treatment. Sweating bullets. Kyosuke's mind spirals into panic about what this guy wants, or if he secretly knows his true identity as the legendary Misato Kyoichiro. He desperately wishes he had packed some extra weapons, because if Ingolf actually knows the truth, it is totally going to be a bloodbath tonight. Strolling down a ridiculous hallway, he reaches a giant door guarded by a beefy bouncer. Kyosuke literally flexes his muscles, absolutely ready to throw hands and start a war. But plot twist. Busting through the doors, he finds a mouth-watering 5-star feast casually sitting right there on the table. Ingolf is just slicing a juicy steak, calmly ordering him to sit and eat. Honestly, this bizarre hospitality freaks Kyosuke out even more. Is the meat poisoned? Finally, after the most awkward dinner ever, Ingolf kicks things off. He praises our hero for completely dominating the festival, specifically hyping up his crazy rooftop brawl. But then the atmosphere suddenly turns ice cold. Shooting him a totally terrifying glare, Ingolf demands to know exactly what Kyosuke is hiding. Cue the internal screaming. Kyosuke practically leaps out of his skin. Sweat drips down his face as he desperately tries to guess how much this old fox knows. Gripping his fists, he logically decides that if his cover as Kyoichiro was blown, Ingolf would have just tried to murder him. Instead, the geezer casually brings up Master Iwako's ultimate life-consuming fusion spell, demanding to know how a random kid pulled it off. Letting out a massive mental sigh of relief, Kyosuke slaps on his best innocent smile. He feeds the guy a totally believable lie about receiving elite training from Iwako back in Japan. Sipping his fancy tea like a movie villain, Ingolf asks if that is how he mastered the magic. Playing the role of the devoted student, Kyosuke nods, giving all the credit to his master. Buying the act completely, Ingolf laughs and says that definitely sounds like Iwako's style. He gives Kyosuke a solid thumbs up for mastering the technique. But then he drops a super hypocritical warning, telling him not to end up like Misato Kyoichiro, the absolute madman who tried to destroy the entire world. Wow, talk about awkward. Kyosuke just sits there, stunned into silence. Standing up dramatically, Ingolf assumes the kid must have heard about the famous disaster from 20 years ago. According to this liar's wild fanfiction, Kyoichiro went crazy from power and started summoning dungeon monsters like a literal supervillain. He supposedly wanted to slaughter absolutely everyone, even his own best friends. Hearing this dude rewrite history, Kyosuke's eyes practically bulge out of his skull. Ingolf keeps yapping, claiming Kyoichiro wanted all the glory for himself. Cue the villain music. So he put his evil plan into action. But oh, praise the heavens, they managed to heroically stop the bad guy. Kyosuke's hand shakes with pure rage as he listens to this colossal pile of garbage, using every ounce of willpower not to punch the guy. Internally, our boy is basically a ticking bomb, vowing that this traitor is going straight to the grave. Ignorant of his impending doom, Ingolf smirks, claiming he just wants to make sure Kyosuke does not fall to the dark side. Putting on an Oscar-worthy performance, Kyosuke proudly declares that power is just a tool to crush evil, and he absolutely plans to become the strongest guy alive. Ingolf is completely mesmerized by the intense, totally not murderous fire blazing in the student's aura. He laughs, calling Kyosuke a ridiculously fascinating kid, and for being such a good little student, he declares that this kind of spirit deserves a shiny reward. Creeping closer, the geezer promises to hook him up with a super special sparring partner for his upcoming training cycle if he is brave enough. Bowing like a true gentleman, Kyosuke says he would happily accept this totally unexpected challenge. Stepping back out into the lively, bustling night air, Kyosuke can barely contain his twisted excitement. He quickly realizes this is literally the greatest gift ever. Now, he just needs to grab some popcorn and wait. Because he is absolutely going to smash this sparring partner into dust and finally cash in on a 20-year-old grudge. Flash forward a bit, and the highly anticipated day of the special training class has finally arrived. Meanwhile, two random background characters are casually gossiping about this massive event. One of them is totally whining about being super jealous of anyone lucky enough to meet the great Ingolf. But right in the middle of their fanboying session, something absolutely horrifying catches their eye. Kyosuke is chilling on a bench, radiating pure, unfiltered demonic murder vibes. Completely terrified, the poor blonde student whispers, "They need to run." The two extras sprint away in pure panic, while Kyosuke happily maintains his terrifying demonic scowl. His face screamed pure villainy. Today was payback day. The old man actually promised a spar during today's training session. To Ingolf, just another day swatting a pesky student. But for Kyosuke, it was time to absolutely pulverize him. 20 years of grudge holding baby. Finally, the main event started. The big bad, Ingolf, casually strolled onto the battlefield, eyeing the fresh meat. Kyosuke glared at him, mentally practicing his victory dance. Ingolf started his boring teacher speech, saying he hoped everyone actually leveled up their skills. But hey, staring intensely counts as training too. So today he decided to spice things up with some good old-fashioned violence. He told them to chill out, because the lucky victim was already chosen. Kyosuke stepped right up. Mateo gasped from the peanut gallery. To witness this epic showdown, he ditched his classes entirely. Totally worth the bad grades. The mysterious festival girl was also lurking nearby. Honestly, she and her master were just thriving. Shirado suddenly felt the creepies from being watched. But whatever, she ignored it. She was way too hyped to see Kyosuke get crushed. The combatants locked eyes. It was go time. Ingolf wasn't just some guy. He was a holy pentagram heavyweight. Totally out of Iwako and Lei's league. But did Kyosuke care? Nope. He fully planned to mop the floor with the bearded boomer. Ingolf flexed, calling dibs on the first strike. His arm glowed with massive energy, firing a blast straight ahead. Boom. The sheer impact sent Kyosuke flying like a ragdoll. The crowd went wild, screaming about wind magic. But Shirado scoffed. That wasn't magic, just pure, unadulterated muscle tearing the air. Our hero face-planted, wondering if the old man was using stat boosters. Time for plan B. Earth magic counter. A massive boulder shot from the dirt. But Ingolf just smirked and one punch manned it into fine dust. Dusting himself off, Kyosuke yelled, "Was that a buff spell?" Because that punch hit harder than an isekai truck. His earth shield barely survived the abuse. The raw power of that strike was completely cracked. Swishing his dramatic cape, Ingolf laughed. "Buffs, please." He was running on pure base stats. Kyosuke squinted, doing the mental math. Suddenly, the bearded beast flexed, channeling a totally ridiculous amount of aura. "Now this is my buffed form," he bragged. He casually punched the air, and a literal nuke of energy hurtled toward Kyosuke. The power level was so insane, our boy just froze. Luckily, his survival instincts kicked in. Like a spammer in a fighting game, Ingolf threw an endless barrage of air fists. Kyosuke scrambled like a scared cat. Mateo watched with sparkling eyes. Seeing his overpowered master sweating was top-tier entertainment. Ingolf noticed Kyosuke surfing on wind magic to survive. Not letting up, he fired another absolute death laser of a punch. Kyosuke Matrix dodged it by a hair. Chunks of the poor arena went flying everywhere as he sprinted for his life. Suddenly, he slammed the brakes. Wait. Running away looks totally uncool. Time to fight back. Ingolf stroked his beard, amused that the rat stopped running. Oh. Finally ready to try something spicy. Shirado smirked. It was his signature festival move. The legendary fusion trick. Cue the glowing anime eyes. Instantly, every random rock in the arena turned into homing missiles aiming right at the old man. Ingolf threw his hands up. Whoa. This spell actually had some teeth. The veteran braced for impact. Boom. A massive rocky explosion rocked the arena. Smoke completely covered the field. But once the dust settled, Ingolf was barely scratched. He tanked it, though he looked a little out of breath. Man, this boomer did not skip gym day in 20 years. Smiling like a troll, Ingolf clapped. Not bad, kid. Guess I should stop playing on easy mode. Suddenly, blinding golden aura erupted like a divine lightning strike. Kyosuke's jaw practically hit the floor. Crackling magical energy surged through Ingolf, turning him into a literal human flashbang. Giving the universal bring it on hand gesture, the old man dared him to step up. This was a totally new meta. A skill tree unlock from the last 20 years. Dropping into his combat stance, Kyosuke was dying to test it out. His eyes flashed a deadly violet. Time for the ultimate fusion combo. He fired an absolute nuke of a spell, an area of effect earth attack so massive, even a ninja couldn't dodge it. The floor under Ingolf literally exploded into oblivion. The second the old man stumbled, Kioski prepared to deliver the ultimate sucker punch. A massive tsunami of green energy rushed forward. Mateo screamed from the bleachers, hyped to see his master win. Meanwhile, Shirato watched closely. Ingolf was totally flailing in the air. The perfect opening. A massive magical tornado roared straight toward the bearded beast, but he just stood there smiling like it was a light summer breeze. Instead of dodging, he roared, gathering a terrifying amount of energy. Kioske was completely dumbfounded. What in the world was this crazy old musclehead planning? The madman literally reached out to catch the deadly magical storm with his bare hands. The spell clashed, hitting him with devastating power. Ingolf strained his massive muscles, veins popping. Then with a casual wave of his arms, the magic simply vanished into thin air. A wicked, terrifying grin crept across his face. Kioski's jaw practically dropped. Did he really just casually brush off fusion magic? Even Shirato was sweating bullets. An ultimate attack like that shouldn't be so easily swatted away. Ingolf chuckled, praising the spicy attack, but claiming it was utterly useless against his legendary mana armor. That flashy golden aura surrounding him. It wasn't just for show, it was an impenetrable shield. Tanking a devastating blast without a single scratch proved this crazy defensive aura was an absolute cheat code. Stepping forward, the bearded titan smirked. This wasn't just a basic shield. It turned his entire monstrous physique into a living, breathing weapon. Absolute defense met unstoppable offense. Without warning, he bulldozed straight toward Kioska. Launching into the air, he brought the hammer down. Kioska scrambled backward just in time. The exact spot where Ingolf struck completely exploded into rubble. Mateo's eyes nearly popped out of his skull. The shockwave was so absurd it launched chunks of rock everywhere. As the thick dust finally cleared, the bearded monster stood tall. He was ridiculously stronger than he was 20 years ago. That golden armor was a major problem. Kioske desperately planned a counter, but his trump card spell was half-baked. Pulling it off now was basically a total gamble. The old man barked a laugh. Not going to attack. Then I'll just crush you right here. The tension was suffocating. Our hero was backed into a nasty corner. Gritting his teeth, he gathered every drop of his power. Ingolf raised an eyebrow. The kid was cooking up something reckless. Suddenly, the heavy air turned terrifyingly cold. Time itself seemed to freeze around the bearded beast. Glowing particles wildly danced as Kioske aimed a shaking hand at his colossal opponent. But Ingolf just closed the distance, casually swatting the unformed spell away, before roughly shoving Kioske back. The sad truth. The kid's ultimate move was a total dud. Glaring at his massive rival, our boy racked his brain for a miracle. But Ingolf just sighed and lowered his fists. "We're done here," he declared. For a simple practice match, things had gotten way too spicy. Kioske stood there, legs trembling like jelly. Since the boss man called it off, the peanut gallery figured the show was over. The students gossiped eagerly. Hey, the new kid actually threw some hands. But everyone clearly knew the bearded beast was just playing around. Mateo ran up, totally hyping up his friend's gutsy performance. Kioske, however, swallowed his pride. He had severely underestimated that monster. Right now, he was basically just a punching bag. He desperately needed to master his void magic, to stand a chance. The clueless extras nearby had absolutely zero idea what kind of monstrous potential our boy possessed. Meanwhile, Ingolf casually strolled off the ruined battlefield, secretly geeking out over what just happened. It had been decades since his blood boiled like this. That little spar lit a fire in both warriors. The old-timer smirked, knowing perfectly well that a stubborn brat like Kioske wouldn't just give up. Later in his room, Ingolf sipped his drink, staring at the night sky. What a ridiculously fun brawl that was. But honestly, the kid was way scarier than he looked. There was one specific split second where the mighty titan actually felt genuine terror. Deep in thought, his mind flashed back to the last time he experienced that chilling dread. A flashback hit him, kneeling completely defeated before another legend. He had gasped, asking if the guy hid that insane spell on purpose. The long-haired rival just laughed, claiming you always need a secret weapon. Typical. That crazy bastard always blew expectations out of the water. That's why their rivalry was so incredibly epic. Pushing himself up, a younger Ingolf demanded a rematch from Kyoiro. Snapping back to reality, the old man sighed, blaming the booze for his mushy feelings. You can't change history. But man, fighting someone who could actually kill him, he missed that deadly adrenaline rush so badly. Kioske showing up was pure luck. For now, the bearded powerhouse just wanted to watch the kid grow into a monster. Meanwhile, deep in a spooky forest, our hero spotted the ultimate grind spot. Knowing he'd get stomped in a rematch, he desperately needed an insanely fast level up. Luckily, this ominous dungeon was a perfect hellish training ground. Stepping inside, the heavy gravity nearly crushed him. No wonder punches hit like absolute trucks, so our main character's first step gets stupidly ripped. That way, when he finally squares up with Ingolf, his secret spell will be an instant game changer. Staring down an absolute sea of monsters, Kyosuke decides the final boss can wait a bit. Fast forward 3 days at the academy, the local extras are doing their usual boring NPC routines. Shirato, however, catches on that Asai has completely ghosted his dorm. Suddenly she spots Mateo dragging his feet looking totally miserable. Honestly, the redhead is practically dying of boredom without his precious master around. Catching her staring, he instantly assumes she's just another fangirl of his boss. Grabbing the perfect opening, she casually fishes for Kyosuke's coordinates. Mateo shrugs, admitting he lost the GPS signal, but mentions the guy is off grinding in the eastern forest. Cue the suspicious squint. Shirato quickly hits him with a fake goodbye and speeds off, leaving Mateo totally convinced she's just a mega fan. Arriving at the spooky woods, her inner detective goes to work. There's a totally secret dungeon here, perfectly designed for crazy power leveling. But how on earth did a rookie like Asai find it? A wild theory pops up, cranking her suspicion to 11. What if Asai Kyosuke is actually the legendary Misato Koichiro flashback to a month ago, when she scored a top-secret mission to hunt down Koichiro's secret identity? And surprise, Asai was sitting right on top of her watch list. Her brain short-circuits at the crazy odds that this kid is the GOAT himself. Stealing her nerves, she steps right into the dungeon. She got beat up here on an old mission, and yep, it's still an absolute nightmare zone. Seriously, is Asai actually surviving in this hellhole? Out of nowhere, a massive flex of energy catches her eye and her jaw drops. A ridiculously buff, sweaty dude is just chilling on a mountain of dead monsters. Squinting from afar, he does not look like the wimpy Asai at all. Did he seriously solo this entire mob army? This flex is way above her pay grade. Sprinting out of the dungeon, Shirato makes a super urgent phone call. She reports that this absolute madman might actually rival Ingolf's insane power. The creepy lady on the other end of the line purrs, asking if it's really Koichiro. Shirato nervously confirms it's a huge yes. That juicy intel slaps a cartoonishly evil grin onto the woman's face. Bingo, right on the money. Kneeling before her are dozens of terrified cronies. The villainess chuckles, declaring the real fun is finally starting. T-posing over her subjects, she screams that her Dark Lord's master plan is totally working. Cut back to the sparkly crystals in the dungeon where Kyosuke was aggressively grinding. Brushing off monster dust, our guy proudly announces his training arc is officially over. Now he is 100% ready to crush Ingolf. Meanwhile, in a super edgy dark room, a phone starts screaming. Iwako Hideki, a literal holy pentagram big shot, grumbles at the spam call. He angrily picks it up, but on the other end of the line. It's Ingolf. Iwako's tough guy face instantly freezes in total panic as he recognizes the voice and sweating bullets asks what went wrong. Ingolf casually says he just wants to run a background check on a kid named Asai Kyosuke. After a super tense interrogation, Ingolf calmly notes that he's got all the tea he needs, and politely hangs up. Shaking like a leaf, Iwako slams the phone down. He's absolutely terrified that Ingolf asked about Kyosuke's secret past, but there's no way he's snitching that the kid is Koichiro. If he dropped that spoiler, he'd be super dead. Far away, Ingolf tosses his phone aside. His lie detector went off big time, knowing Iwako is keeping secrets even without hard proof. Well, time to escalate things to boss level. But just as he hits the door, something catches his eagle eyes. A sketchy envelope was slid right under his door. Raising an eyebrow, Ingolf rips the letter open and boom, his poker face shatters completely. He violently grips his shirt like he just read the worst plot twist ever. With pure murder in his eyes, he growls that his crazy theory was actually right. Cue the dramatic flashback to a chat with Koichiro on a breezy mountain. The long-haired legend smirks, saying that since Ingolf's hometown got nuked, it's his bro duty to help out. Ingolf brings up a government-issued dungeon raid, a quest that would pay out massive loot for Koichiro. Staring at the clouds, Koichiro scoffs that it's just greedy politicians trying to flex their non-existent muscles, and he'd rather carry the actual noobs who need him. Ingolf laughs, calling his friend a total softie. Koichiro then jumps up, admiring the awesome view, happily declaring that Kell Hill is undeniably the ultimate spot for sunset watching. He teases Ingolf about being a secret softie for this place, but Ingolf cuts him off suddenly, dead serious. He vows to grind until he's overpowered, not just to avenge his town, but to save every poor village getting bullied by dungeons. Flashing a massive smile, Koichiro promises to tag along and help him level up. Expected to get insanely strong here. Ingolf flashes a grin and dares him to try. From then on, these two bros basically lived on that hill, just casually breaking their limits between classes. But wait, a pesky memory completely ruins the mood. Cue the tragic flashback. A burning city. Running for his life, dodging literal hellfire. Then bam, the ultimate plot twist hits him. Kyoichiro was right there, chilling in the flames, rocking that classic edgy villain smirk. Ingolf decides on the spot, no way is he dragging his guildmates into this mess. He will personally cancel Kyoichiro. Meanwhile, our main guy is just strolling the halls. Unbothered. The big rematch is next week. Time to face Ingolf again. Suddenly, a wild voice interrupts. It is Mateo yelling for his boss. The redhead sprints over like an excited puppy. He is acting like a frantic mailman to deliver a highly suspicious letter. Asai squints at the envelope like it is cursed, but rips it open anyway. The contents totally floor him. Mateo tries to sneak a peek, but Kyosuke slams it shut faster than lightning. He turns away with a classic, "It is nothing" excuse. Right. Extremely suspicious. Meanwhile, a creepy stalker is hiding behind a pillar. Classic Shirado plotting absolute nonsense. Cut to a grassy field. Ingolf is brooding patiently. Kyosuke rolls up. The dramatic hill showdown begins. The secret is completely out. Ingolf knows our boy is actually Misato Kyoichiro. Completely unfazed by getting doxxed, our hero just asks why they are here. Ingolf glares at his ex-bestie. Is it not obvious? He powers up like a beast, drops into a stance and declares he is going to delete Misato from existence. Kyosuke casually charges his own fists, smirking that the feeling is totally mutual. One-way ticket to hell coming right up. But wait, Kyosuke calls a quick timeout. How did the bearded guy even figure it out? Ingolf says it is none of his business but dramatically explains it anyway. Classic villain monologue move. He claims the Holy Pentagram has zero part in this. Purely a personal beef on this random hill. Ingolf vows he will not mess up this time. Zero forgiveness for those sketchy past atrocities. Kyosuke flashes a cheeky grin. Guess they are on the same page then. The ultimate stare-down begins. Aura explodes everywhere. As we saw before, Ingolf's mana armor is basically a cheat code. It blocks literally everything. Magic punches, you name it. So obviously he thinks Kyoichiro is doomed. Ingolf blitzes forward. He throws a massive haymaker chaining magic into his fists like an absolute tank. The attacks close in. Ingolf smugly wonders how the kid will survive. Last time all our hero did was run away. One solid shockwave should instantly end his whole career. But plot twist, Kyosuke does not back down. He charges straight in like a total madman. Ingolf is totally shook. The kid is rushing him at full speed, absolutely zero fear. He summons a massive emerald tornado, and if that was not enough, his other hand is glowing with blazing fiery energy. Their fists collide in an earth-shattering shockwave. Boom! The recoil blasts them both backward. Kyosuke stabilizes his stance, annoyed but totally unsurprised. Yep, that armor is literally rock solid. Tanking his hits like nothing, and Ingolf's counters are hitting way harder now. But Ingolf notices something spicy too. Asai leveled up. Hard. But wait, there is more. The cheeky brat is blatantly copying his precious mana armor. Cue the massive rage. Ingolf scoffs, claiming he cracked the secret. This big bad void magic is just a glorified copycat skill, but a cheap knockoff will never beat the original masterpiece. He admits time magic is pretty neat. He used to totally fanboy over it, honestly. But current Kyosuke, huge downgrade. No way he shatters this ultimate defense. Eyes blazing with insane confidence, Ingolf thinks he has won. But Asai just smirks, copying. That is cute. His void magic is way more broken than that. It took a minute, but now time to unleash the real juice. Ingolf immediately recognizes the stance. Wait, didn't this kid try spamming that exact move before? Yeah, back in the tutorial stage. But who cares? The big guy charges in. He is dead set that no magic on Earth, known to humanity, can scratch his armor. He charges in for a killer punch, while Asai casually cooks up some void magic. Ingolf throws his absolute Sunday best at our main character. But right before the fist connects, plot twist. Blood goes flying. Ingolf feels a sudden, very uncomfortable breeze. The massive arm he just used to attack is completely wrecked. Defying all logic, our boy actually pierced the impenetrable armor. Ingolf is absolutely flabbergasted since nobody in history has ever pulled this off. Kyosuke just smirks. He warned him, void magic isn't your basic copy-paste skill. Ingolf's eyes practically pop out of his skull. Suddenly, Asai is casually holding a literal flaming sword looking like a boss. Ingolf screams, asking what kind of cheat code this is. Welcome to void magic, baby. Imagination equals creation. And now, Ingolf is about to feel that imagination burn. Still glitching out, Ingolf stammers, asking if this magic is purely made up since homeboy literally pulled a flaming sword out of thin air. Ding ding ding, we have a winner. This bad boy was crafted specifically to turn his mana armor into Swiss cheese. A one-of-a-kind original, but even seeing this spicy blade, Ingolf is in heavy denial, refusing to believe a shiny glow stick just busted his ultimate defense. Kyosuke notices the massive confusion on the guy who just bragged about being invincible. throwing a massive tantrum. Ingolf screams his armor is unbreakable, but Kyosuke happily drops a truth bomb about his blind spot. The armor turns mana into metal. Shook to his core, Ingolf asks how the heck he figured that out. Kyosuke flexes, saying he literally just used the exact same move, so doing the math was easy. After all, metal is just metal. It melts. That is exactly why he imagined a sword with an ultra-spicy temperature to turn his armor into soup. Completely dumbfounded, Ingolf remembers his armor tanking all kinds of fire spells before making him realize this blade is stupidly hot. Dropping the sass, Kyosuke firmly tells him to wake up and smell the burnt metal. The defense is broken. Grinding his teeth, Ingolf growls at him to stop acting so cocky, claiming one shiny new toy doesn't equal a win. He charges like a raging bull, winding up a massive punch, and yells that he will smash that arrogance to pieces. He punches the literal fire sword. With eyes cold as ice, Kyosuke blocks the suicidal attack, gripping his flaming weapon. Then with a mighty swing, he casually bats the heavy brawler away like a baseball. Fried by the impact, Ingolf stumbles and eats the dirt, gasping for air. Refusing to take the L, the brute just cannot process what is happening. Kyosuke ruthlessly roasts him, pointing out that when he gets mad, his attacks become completely brainless and way too easy to read. A terrible old habit he never fixed. This absolute disrespect makes Ingolf go feral. He throws a wild sucker punch, screaming for Kyosuke to shut his mouth. But he just punches the air as Ki elegantly sidesteps. Ingolf, too stubborn to quit, just swings again, screaming at him to keep his past out of his mouth. With absolute venom in his eyes, he keeps throwing hands and drops a massive lore bomb. Kyosuke is the one who burned his homeland to ashes. This heavy accusation stuns our hero, who tries to pause and explain, but Ingolf is way too busy seeing red to listen to reason. Realizing talk is cheap, Ki decides to hit him with the good old flashbang. He charges crackling blue energy into his palm, and with a rapid horizontal swipe, detonates a blinding explosion of smoke and lightning right in his face, with his eyeballs basically scrambled. Ingolf blindly tries to throw another punch, only to find a very hot, very sharp, flaming sword resting right against his throat. Game over. Ki could easily chop his head off, but he just holds it there, staring the big guy down with an incredibly intense glare. Sweating bullets, Ingolf finally folds. He shuts his eyes and dramatically asks why it had to end up like this, admitting he actually thought Kyosuke was his fated rival. The ultimate bro who would help him break his limits, he sadly wonders why they couldn't just have a nice training montage together. Kyosuke puts on his serious face to answer, but out of nowhere, a random sneak attack ruins the moment. A projectile snipes Ingolf right in the neck. The big guy instantly hits the floor, completely knocked out before he could even blink. What the heck? Kyosuke is completely baffled by this sudden killsteal, but his rival is already eating dirt as a smug woman struts onto the scene packing a crossbow. She smirks and says she cannot let the fun end so quickly. Kyosuke glares at her like she is yesterday's trash. Enter Claudia, one of the notorious pentagram saints. The toxic lady cheerfully greets him, saying it has been a hot minute since she saw Kyoichiro boom. She totally knows his secret identity. Flashing a wicked, twisted smile, she says she would love to grab coffee and catch up, but sadly, the real nightmare is just kicking off. Suddenly, a creepy aura from Claudia wraps around Ingolf, pulling him up like a zombie puppet. Moving entirely against his will, the crazy lady drops the ultimate toxic command: make them fight to the death. With dead, hollow eyes, puppet Ingolf robotically answers that her wish is his command. The wind dramatically blows her hair like a villain in a shampoo commercial, as an underling whispers that it is time. But wait, seeing who just stepped out of the shadows, Kyosuke's jaw practically hits the floor. Standing right next to the crazy blonde is Shirato Suyuki. Plot twist. Our boy panics. Why are you snitching to Claudia? But before anyone can explain this massive betrayal, the crazy lady orders a death match. Fight until you drop. Kyosuke screams for Claudia, but he gets completely ghosted. Total silence. Meanwhile, Ingolf goes full beast mode with a nasty purple aura. Kyosuke sweats, gripping his flaming sword. Possessed like a cheap horror movie extra, the giant screams. His shiny new mana armor suddenly pops into existence. Talk about an upgrade. Our hero puts on his serious face. Yep, this guy's brain has totally left the chat. Thanks to Claudia. Absolute flawless mind control. Kyosuke actually spammed this exact cheat code on Yuichi before, so he knows firsthand. This is going to be a massive headache. But there is no running away now. It is time to throw down. Out of nowhere, Ingolf roars and launches forward at hyperspeed. Kyosuke uses his incredibly lazy strategy, the classic copy-paste tactic. Stay frosty and read the attack patterns. He glues his feet to the floor, bracing for impact. Here comes the bearded train. Our boy smoothly dodges the first swing. But spoiler alert, he completely misses the follow-up. Bam, a fist to the face. He goes flying like a ragdoll. Blinking stars, our hero is totally baffled by that ridiculous damage. Ouch. but he shakes it off and bounces right back up. Definitely sweating now. Squinting through the dust, he notices Ingolf's hand is practically minced meat. The dude is swinging a broken arm around, like it is a pool noodle. His muscles are bulging like bad CGI. You know how the brain usually stops you from snapping your own bones. Yeah, Claudia just deleted that safety switch. Classic move from the ultimate queen of toxic mind games. Now the giant has cheat code speed too. Kyosuke does the math. If he does not end this immediately, he is toast. Time for a speed run. Brain at 100% capacity. He locks onto his rampaging target. Sword raised and ready. The moment the giant twitches a muscle, Kyosuke makes his big brain move. Forget the chest, go for the tires. Slash. A clean hit to the legs. The beast is finally wounded. Our boy smirks proud of that cheese tactic. Too soon. Even with sliced up legs, the absolute madman refuses to stop. Hauling his bloated broken arm, he winds up. For a one-hit knockout, Kyosuke squeaks by a millimeter, dodging death by a hair. He pivots, teeing up a nasty counterslash. Seriously, why will this guy not stay down? You have to respect the stubbornness. But suddenly, that weird purple aura glitches. The brainwashing is totally lagging. The giant's movements awkwardly shift. Kyosuke pauses. What fresh nightmare is this? He dances around a sloppy hook. Footwork on point. He stays glued to the ground, ready to block the nonsense. But honestly, he is completely lost right now. What is even happening to this broken boss fight? The giant is groaning in pure agony. The evil mist is literally evaporating. Is the mind control running out of batteries? No way. Claudia is a total control freak. She does not make rookie mistakes. If she wanted a puppet, she would tie the strings tight. This whole setup is super sus. But whatever, no time for conspiracies. His own magic shield is flashing low battery. Time to spam the ultimate. Gripping his blazing sword, our main character hits the gas and blitzes straight at the giant. Full throttle to grab that shiny weak spot. Even while fighting his own brain, Ingolf spots the incoming blur and winds up for a desperate counter. Boom. A colossal shockwave shatters the arena. The heavy hitters finally collide. But broken hands do not win trades. Ingolf stumbles back, dropping his weapon like a hot potato. Kyosuke claps his hands together. Charging his grand finale, he channels everything, and point-blank blasts a shockwave straight into his chest. Bullseye. The energy violently pops off with an ear-splitting crunch. The dust settles. And then, just crickets. The big guy is completely out of gas. He collapses, caught by a sighing hero. He is still breathing though. I tap out, he mutters. Kyosuke just nods. Yep, add another win to my scoreboard. The bearded giant chuckles weakly. Still a cocky brat, huh? He admits the brawl was a total blast, but taking that magic to the face gave him an epiphany. Plot twist. He realizes Kyosuke did not torch his hometown. Then he instantly passes out, snoozing right on the dirt. Kyosuke is left completely confused. Wait, who burned what? Fast forward to a cozy nighttime camp. A cute little bonfire is crackling. Slowly, the giant peels his eyes open. Finally, Sleeping Beauty is awake from his nap. He groggily calls out Kyoiro. Glaring at his newly wrapped mummy arms, he asks if the kid played nurse. Yep, guilty. Just some cheap first aid tape so your arms do not fall off. No big deal. The redhead squints. Why heal an enemy, bro? Our hero leans in. Because you owe me some massive lore explanations. Before passing out, Ingolf dropped a massive lore bomb. Kyoichiro didn't actually barbecue his hometown. Now our guy wants some serious answers. Kyoichiro is scratching his head, wondering who really turned that village into extra crispy toast 20 years ago. He asks if the real culprit was still hiding. Catching that intense vibe, the bearded warrior finally spilled the tea. 20 years ago, right before that apocalyptic triple S rank dungeon disaster hit, he saw something unbelievable. It was the exact silhouette of Kyosuke, casually torching his entire homeland. Our hero's jaw practically hit the floor. Ingolf admitted he was in massive denial at first. How could his ultimate rival commit such a villainous act? But right there, amidst the blazing inferno and screaming crowds, a guy rocking his exact face was standing there. Laughing like an absolute maniac, Kyosuke's brain completely short-circuited. He definitely wasn't a crazy arsonist. Who the heck did this bearded guy actually see? But wait, the plot totally thickens from here. They miraculously found a detailed assassination plot conveniently stashed in his bedroom right after. The revelation was staggering. Kyosuke's eyes bulged out of his skull. Next thing you know, the holy pentagrams branded him a dirty traitor. And we all know how horribly that drama ended. Looking at his serious rival, he knew Ingolf wasn't lying. Some absolute genius of a scumbag orchestrated everything, faking memories and messing with a person's brain. Oh, that screamed one specific crazy lady. Claudia. The undisputed queen of wicked hypnosis and mind control. Since our boy had totally copied her sneaky spells before he knew her exact playbook, he opened his mouth, ready to drop this truth bomb, but Ingolf beat him to it. The bearded brute finally realized the truth. That so-called support buff Claudia gave him earlier was a death trap. If she could brainwash him into fighting, then scrambling his memories to hide the truth was child's play. Ingolf locked eyes with his old rival, the realization hitting him like a truck. That witch literally copy-pasted Kyosuke's face onto the real arsonist. It all made disgusting sense now. Standing up awkwardly, the bearded giant offered a massive apology for his monumental screw-up, for doubting him and ruining his life. Seeing this warrior swallow his pride was honestly quite touching. But Mr. Dramatic decided a simple sorry wasn't enough. He declared he deserved maximum punishment for doubting his bro. Whipping out a pocket dagger, he shoved it into our hero's hands, demanding to be executed and buried on the spot. Kyosuke just stood there in silence, staring at this overly dramatic musclehead. Seriously. Breaking the awkward silence, he called out his name with a straight face. He pointed to the gorgeous hill view. Doesn't this totally remind you of our grueling training days back then? The bearded warrior's eyes glistened with unshed tears. They were brothers in arms, man. You don't just throw away a 20-year bromance over some fake memories. And the witch who ruined it was going to pay. Stretching out his hand, Kyosuke casually invited the big guy. Join my vengeance squad. Ingolf was absolutely stunned, but holding a ridiculous grudge just wasn't our redhead style. Flashing a cheeky grin, he fully agreed it was payback time. Their hands met in an epic bro shake. Boom! It felt exactly like the good old days 2 decades ago. But nostalgia time was officially over. They had a supervillain to hunt, kicking dirt over their campfire. The dynamic duo set their sights on the sea. The Mediterranean rumor had it that crazy Claudia built an entire cult city out there for her hardcore fans. Ingolf immediately started cooking up a complicated battle plan, but Kyosuke literally hushed him. Bro, listen, he smirked confidently. That witch totally thinks one of us kicked the bucket. Let's use her own absolute delusion against her. She really thought she played them both. Well, time to hand her a gigantic reality check. It was way easier to sneak around as a ghost, so Ingolf's job was to waltz right back into his holy pentagram duties like normal. With shady Nathaniel creeping around, Kyosuke desperately needed an inside man. The bearded giant gave a confident nod. Mission accepted. Suddenly, a shadow in the sky caught our hero's eye. Things had been an absolute chaotic mess. But his next step was crystal clear. He would make Claudia completely regret the day she messed with his brain. Cut to the gorgeous coast, where a random seagull was minding its own business over the sparkling blue waves. Leaning on the railing, our guy accidentally scared the poor bird away while doing some deep, dramatic brooding. Honestly, Germany was an absolute roller coaster. From Mateo's depressing goodbye to the epic bro reunion with Ingolf, he never expected things to wrap up so perfectly, but enough with the mushy feelings. His crazy adventure was now taking him straight to the islands in the middle of the sea Target acquired. The absolute cult-tastic city where Claudia hoarded all her brainwashed fans. It was almost too obvious for a supervillain hideout, but hey, crazy people absolutely love an audience. Since the place was crawling with fanatics, kicking down the front door was suicide. He'd have to fake a smile and join the cult. Time for his signature void magic, Asai slapped on a presence-concealing spell. Sure, it was a bit janky, but hey, it got the job done. Meanwhile, on the cruise, some fancy dude puffing a massive cigar waltzed over. He nudged our boy, asking if he was heading off to worship at the altar of Borgasm. Kyosuke figured out that ridiculous name belonged to Claudia's fan club and just nodded along. The cigar guy practically shed a tear at the kid's hardcore devotion. He bragged about wanting an exclusive VIP meet and greet with Claudia herself. Naturally, he brought a massive bribe offering since only the top-tier fanboys get to see her face. Kyosuke soaked up the free intel, making a mental note that this creepy cult actually sorts people into literal tiers. Suddenly, the loudspeaker blared, ruining the moment and telling everyone to grab their bags and get ready to jump ship. Cigar guy spun around to keep chatting, but oops. Our sneaky main character had already pulled a ninja vanish. The mustache dude stood there, blinking like an idiot. He knew he was talking to a kid, but his memory was completely wiped blank. Asai smirked from the shadows. His sketchy spell was a total success. Now, it was finally time to collect that 20-year-old debt from Claudia. The port town was packed with rusty brick buildings. And the second he looked up, Kyosuke's jaw hit the floor. Just like every other clueless tourist snapping photos, he stared in pure shock. Right in the middle stood a stupidly massive tower. It pierced the sky so hard you couldn't even see the top. Move over regular skyscrapers. This thing was a literal monolith. Rumor had it the Borgo Tower hid a whole metropolis for its brainwashed sheep. Eavesdropping on some randoms, Kyosuke scoffed. 20 years ago, Claudia was running a pathetic little shack. Now she's the CEO of a megacity. With a headquarters this ridiculously huge, the amount of mindless cultists inside must be hilarious. Honestly, it was the perfect cover for a stealthy break-in. Security looked super tight, but that was cute. His void magic made it a total cakewalk. He waltzed right through the scanners and metal detectors like a ghost. Not a single beep. Welcome to the cult, buddy. He was officially stamped as a rank 1 newbie and got his shiny badge. Turns out your rank equals your floor number. Being a complete scrub meant he was stuck in the basement. Getting promoted required grinding through some wacky exams. If Kyosuke could just hit rank 7, he'd finally get his revenge meeting with Claudia. Our hero swaggered through the giant gates. Inside, the place was dripping with crazy wealth and endless maze-like hallways. He chuckled to himself. His fake ID worked like a charm, and those clueless guards definitely had their brains scrambled. But then he froze in his tracks. Out the window was an entire thriving city. Our boy casually strolled across a massive sky bridge. The cult had actually built ridiculously dramatic statues and monuments everywhere. Seriously, how does a whole functioning city even fit in here? Asai ducked through a shady alleyway into the main street, but suddenly some absolute prime drama caught his eye. A bunch of beefy guards were completely stonewalling some poor guy. Wait, it was Mr. Mustache from the boat. The guy looked like he was about to burst a blood vessel. The guards smirked, telling the rank 1 loser to get lost. But Mustache Guy wasn't having it. He violently shoved the guard, screaming that he absolutely had to see Claudia right now. Big mistake. Before he could sprint, magic snapped around his ankles. Boom. A massive lightning bolt fried him to a crisp. The roasted VIP dropped like a sack of potatoes, while the guards awkwardly scratched their heads, like this happened every Tuesday. Welp, Kyosuke instantly realized that going full barbarian wasn't going to fly here. Security was no joke. Claudia was obviously chilling at the very top, meaning he had to play their stupid game and crush whatever ridiculous trials this cult threw his way. Cracking his knuckles, our hero decided he'd just have to speedrun the guild's ranking system from 0. Meanwhile, way up in the snobby upper floors, some flunky was bowing to Father Samoa. He handed over the fresh meat roster for today's hazing rituals. The grumpy priest rolled his eyes, whining about having to babysit another pathetic flock of noisy little lambs. Looks like it was testing time. Down below, kicking back on a bench, our boy gloated over how incredibly easy sneaking in was. Now he just had to ace whatever nonsense exam they threw at him to level up. Out of nowhere, a literal cliché white dove fluttered down, dropping a letter right in his lap. The scroll ordered the newbies to report to the North Mansion. Talk about dramatic. With a cocky grin, he realized the tutorial phase had officially started. Cue the epic music. He leaped up, totally ready to demolish whatever test was waiting for him. Arriving at the swanky spot, a bunch of nervous, sweaty newbies were clumped together. Father Samoa dramatically declared himself their grand examiner. He crossed his arms, demanding to hear everyone's tragic backstories for joining the crazy tower. First up was a short-haired girl, shaking like a leaf. Stuttering awkwardly, she mumbled about desperately needing to see Claudia. Apparently some cursed plague was wiping out her entire village, and her poor grandma is bedridden. So, our humble girl desperately needs Claudia's magical healing buff. Kyosuke watches her, thinking her tragic backstory is prime main character material. But of course, the local trust fund kids start mocking her peasant starter gear and sky-high dreams. Suddenly, Priest Samoa crashes their pity party, asking the snobs if they want to share the joke instead of meeting Claudia. The bullies instantly sweat buckets and apologize. Samoa smirks and drops the harsh reality that meeting the Tower Master isn't a walk in the park. He drops 2 terrifying stats, 1 year and 99%. 1 solid year just to hit rank 2, and a brutal 99% fail rate on the tutorial floor. Dreams come here to get absolutely obliterated. Still, he dramatically adds, aiming high is a pretty noble flex. Cutting the fluff, the priest reveals the first of 3 hellish trials. Just stroll into the northeast dungeon and casually slaughter 500 monsters. The crowd collectively loses their minds. He explains, you just gotta farm their purple drop stones to prove you actually did the grind. No timer, so you can suffer at your own pace. With that cheerful doom scroll of a speech, he wishes them luck. The rich bullies are shaking in their expensive boots, but our ragged heroine glares with pure iron resolve. Kyosuke spots that protagonist aura immediately. Later, he catches up to her and admits he totally didn't expect her stone-cold reaction. She recognizes him and tilts her head. Kyosuke chuckles, saying while everyone else was crying about the grind. She didn't even flinch. Closing her eyes, she confesses she is actually terrified. But plot armor or not, she has a village to save. Smiling, she asks if he's climbing too. Deep down, Kyosuke knows she's built absolutely different. But playing detective right now would be a massive waste of stamina. Night shrouds the tower. Meanwhile, a greasy guy with a mustache is practically kissing Samoa's feet, flexing a shiny rank 2 necklace he totally just bought. The priest smoothly calls it divine providence. Yeah, right. The guy whistles away with a lighter wallet. Now alone with his fancy wine, Samoa gloats over his pay-to-win scam. He makes the tutorial utterly impossible, forcing desperate newbies to open their wallets to skip the grind. That northeast dungeon is packed with overkill bosses literally built to gatekeep the weak. Broke players can just cry about their shattered dreams. Delighted by his own toxicity, Samoa unleashes a textbook villain cackle. But, oops. Our overleveled main character is chilling on the roof, and here's the whole cringe monologue. It's that classic trash mob boss laugh. Kyosuke immediately pieces it together. While the poor newbies are praying to Claudia, these corrupt admins are just milking them for cash. Fast forward to morning. Samoa is doing boring, evil paperwork when a knock hits the door. Kyosuke kicks it open casually, dropping a fake apology. Skipping the small talk, he announces the quest is done and slams a ridiculously heavy loot bag on the mahogany desk. 500 purple drop stones spill out. Samoa's jaw literally hits the floor. Sweating buckets, he tries to mask his panic by praising the speedrun. But Kyosuke just smirks, leans in, and totally roasts the priest. Next time you do an evil monologue, close the damn window. The priest instantly turns paler than a ghost. He realizes his entire scam is busted. But his trembling panic quickly shifts into blazing toxic rage. Staring at the stones, he decides this level 1 punk isn't ruining his server. With bloodshot eyes, Samoa vows to make this city the kid's graveyard. That night, up in his evil lair, Samoa is fuming, completely tilted. Kyosuke showing up just to flex and troll him was a massive slap in the face. Trying to play the hero. Oh please, nothing triggers a villain like cheap justice. Flashing a wicked grin, Samoa plots a banhammer. He'll assign a special, ultra-deadly second quest just for our snarky hero. Meanwhile, back at the noob dorms, Kyosuke is casually watching the stars. Grabbing his coat, he wonders why the corrupt admin hasn't retaliated yet. Surely he wouldn't start a boss fight in the safe zone. Suddenly, a delivery pigeon crashes onto his sill with a sketchy scroll. It's the second death trap quest, officially inviting him to the designated drop zone. Kyosuke instantly smelled the trap. The grand master plan. Make his convenient death look like a tragic little workplace accident. For that corrupt priest Samoa, it was a solid 2-for-1 deal. Grade the rookie and permanently delete the massive thorn in his side. The official exam? Oh, just casually soloing a massive dungeon boss. A totally obvious death trap. But our overpowered hero just smirked and dove right in. Next stop. The scorching lava cave dungeon on Borju Island. The second, his boots hit the fiery rock, a ridiculous wave of heat slapped him. Samoa clearly wanted him roasted alive for sniffing out his dirty secrets. So this hellhole was cranked to nightmare difficulty. Plus, that sneaky priest definitely had a backup plan. 2 could play that game. But before our boy could strategize, boom, a massive eruption shattered the silence. Magma sprayed everywhere and boom, instant monster ambush. We are talking literal flaming dinosaurs. Absolute top-tier pack-hunting beasts, exactly what you expect from a death trap. But spoiler alert, our main character was ready. Void magic activated. He blasted those spicy lizards with absolute zero ice, turning them into frozen shish kebabs. All that brutal training was finally paying the bills. Dusting off his hands after round 1, the overpowered rookie strolled deeper inside. But wait. Creepy stalker alert. Some shady dude in a hood was tailing him, trying way too hard to be invisible. Meanwhile, miles away, Samoa was busy gossiping about our favorite troublemaker. His nervous lackey panicked. If the kid clears stage 1 this fast, what if he actually claps the boss? But the priest just laughed it off. Impossible. Not even the absolute sweatiest tryhards in the guild could pull that off. Plus, he had the ultimate insurance policy. A completely overkill professional assassin ready to make sure the kid never sees tomorrow. But cut back to the dungeon. That supposedly elite assassin was currently sweating bullets. His jaw dropped as Kyosuke literally one-shot the big bad boss. Still, the edgelord thought he was hidden. Quote, raw stats mean nothing against a stealth build, unquote. The hitman crept up, perfectly positioning his poisoned dagger for the ultimate backstab. And then he hilariously face-planted smack into the dirt. Why couldn't he move? Oh right. His legs were literally frozen solid. Panicking like a caught rat, the stealth master completely lost his mind. How did this kid have wall hacks? Kyosuke just strolled over with a mocking grin. You amateur hunters always forget to check your own 6. Plot twist. Adorable little glowing magical butterflies were fluttering right around the hitman's head. Kyosuke had slapped a tracker on him from minute 1. Easiest game of hide-and-seek ever. Lifting the pathetic bandit by his collar, our hero chuckled darkly. Better luck in your next life, buddy. Fast forward to Samoa's cozy office. Ding-dong, special delivery. Unboxing time. Oh look, it is a freshly severed hand. The priest shrieked right as the door kicked open. Surprise, I am alive. Kyosuke strolled in whining about how totally tough the dungeon boss was. Wink wink. And gosh, some rude guy in a hood tried to murder me. Can you believe the customer service here? I wonder which absolute clown ordered that hit. Dropping the mic, our hero turned around cheerfully, adding that he was super pumped for round 3. The corrupt priest was sweating buckets. Why didn't the kid snitch? Then his villain brain booted up. Ah, the brat has no hard evidence, or maybe his fragile male ego wants to keep this quiet. Perfect. That means old man Samoa gets to do the dirty work personally. Sure, the kid is broken, but with the overpowered magical ring from Lady Claudia, deleting him from existence would be a walk in the park. Later that night, two random background characters were loudly crying in the streets, whining about failing their exams again thanks to Samoa turning the guild into a complete toxic wasteland. The blonde extra sobbed that he fled his whole country just to get stuck at rank 1 forever. Eavesdropping from the shadows, a dangerous idea sparked in Kioski's eyes. Cut to two horribly bored guards doing absolutely nothing. Suddenly, our main character popped up with the most innocent fake smile imaginable, just doing a little innocent networking. After buttering them up, he bounced, leaving the guards scratching their heads. Why on earth was that cheerful kid asking about the exact date the top brass inspector was visiting? A few days roll by. A cute little messenger dove dropped off the details for the ultimate final exam. Reading the date, Kioski practically laughed out loud. The idiot scheduled it for inspection day. Talk about digging your own grave. Flexing his void magic, our boy spawned his own flock of shadow doves, ready to ruin a career, catching the clueless townsfolk completely off guard. Each feathered messenger clutched a mysterious scroll. Curiosity, taking over the crowd, began to devour the juicy gossip, from an ordinary peasant girl to a very VIP target. One extremely brave pigeon dive-bombed a silver-haired powerhouse who was just strolling through town, delivering the golden ticket. With his masterstroke in motion, Kioski smirked, knowing the trap was perfectly set. It was payback time. That trash-tier priest Samoa was about to choke on his own karma for treating believers like absolute garbage. Cut to the Grand Colosseum. Our smug main character and the sweating priest finally locked eyes. Glaring at the boy, Samoa sneered, asking if he was prepared to meet his doom in the final trial. Kioski flashed a cheeky grin dripping with fake gratitude that the big boss bothered to show up. Samoa ground his teeth. He knew Kioski was totally trolling him. The kid had definitely eavesdropped on his evil monologue and knew exactly who ordered the midnight assassination. But this first floor was Samoa's personal playground, and the corrupt cleric was ready to play dirty to erase this pest. Flashing a wicked smirk, Kioski casually pointed out that they were about to put on a blockbuster show. The priest whipped around, eyes bulging at the massive stampede of spectators. Every single one had grabbed the VIP invite to watch Kioski absolutely style on his exam. In seconds, the arena was bursting with drama-hungry citizens. Panic mode engaged, Samoa scanned the stands, the terrifying realization hitting him. This brat orchestrated a live broadcast. What the heck was his endgame? Without missing a beat, our boy cranked his volume to maximum, dropping massive truth bombs about the shady priest. He spilled all the tea. Rigged exams, greedy bribes, gatekeeping the worthy. And oh yeah, sending a literal hitman to silence a student. The audience gasped in absolute horror while Samoa's face turned the color of an angry tomato. Cornered like a rat, he hyperventilated and hit them with the classic villain defense. Fake news, it is all a crazy lie. But inside, he was screaming, terrified. The kid had the receipts. Sweating bullets, he instantly smashed the start button on the trial, knowing dead men tell no tales. The priest chanted frantically, spawning a horde of nightmare monsters to devour Kioski, flexing his high-level summoning to the stunned crowd. With a totally unhinged glare, Samoa roared that if the brat somehow lived, he had a free pass to the second floor. But spoiler alert, he fully expected the kid to become Monster Chow. Too bad for him, our main character is just built different. Kioski casually snapped his fingers, unleashing his supreme void magic. Bam! The entire beastly horde turned into giant popsicles. Samoa's jaw literally dropped to the floor. Smiling like a troll, Kioski gave a fake apology. Oops, was he not supposed to one-shot the exam? The crowd absolutely lost their minds, cheering at the epic flex. Even the peasant girl was totally starry-eyed. Shaking with unbelievable rage, Samoa gripped his robes, furious that a rookie was stealing his spotlight. No way was he letting this little punk ruin his cushy life. Desperate, the corrupted cleric whipped out a shiny relic ring and slipped it on, expecting a legendary stat boost. Kioski raised an eyebrow at the shiny little cheat code. Striking an anime villain pose, Samoa screamed at the kid to prepare for absolute destruction, ready to unleash his ultimate form. The ring sparked with a terrifying crimson aura. And then, absolute crickets. Awkward silence violently echoed through the stadium. The crowd blinked in confusion before bursting into savage laughter, roasting the priest for his superpowered dud. Samoa violently shook his hand like a broken remote control. Completely baffled why his overpowered item was glitching, out of nowhere a majestic voice dropped the punchline. The relic completely rejects absolute scumbags. Boom. The kid's accusations were instantly validated by magic. Kioski's eyes lit up. The special guest star had finally entered the chat. Samoa whipped his head around, practically fainting at the sight of the silver-haired legend standing right behind him. It was Lord Agito Norman, a top-tier fifth-floor elite. The boss-level priest glared down coldly, stating that a holy ring failing meant the wearer's soul was pure garbage. Looking like he had seen a ghost, Samoa realized his scam was totally busted. Agito's gaze felt like a heavy aura of absolute disappointment, making the guilty rat shiver in his expensive boots. Kyosuke grabbed his mental popcorn slightly, shocked. His pigeon mail summoned such a massive VIP, but hey, the drama just got a 10 times multiplier. The majestic elder revealed that stepping onto the first floor, he was airdropped a wildly suspicious invitation. Sweating buckets, Samoa squeaked out, asking what the letter actually said. Agito casually dropped the bomb. It promised a live front-row seat to the epic unmasking of the first floor's biggest fraud. Hearing his exact crime read aloud, Samoa looked like his soul had left his body. Agito's voice boomed with authority, declaring holy judgment on this pathetic, power-tripping scammer. Samoa's brain short-circuited. The rookie played him like a cheap fiddle just for this grand finale. But clinging to denial, he desperately bet on there being zero physical evidence. He zipped his lips, hoping the silent treatment would save his neck. Gulping down his panic, the rat played his final pathetic card. Voice cracking, he squealed that these wicked rumors were nothing but a huge mistake. The sweating priest desperately claimed ultimate devotion to Claudia, swearing on his pathetic life he was innocent. But Agito wasn't buying it. If he was so holy, why was his magic ring completely dead? You see, this artifact doesn't just boost your stats based on faith. It comes with a built-in lie detector. If a greedy scammer tries to use it, an emergency alert goes straight to top management. The audience gasped. Kyosuke smirked. The ring was literally a rat trap. Flashing a dangerously polite smile, Agito cornered the corrupt priest. Care to explain? He asked smoothly. Sweating bullets, Samoa could only babble pathetic pleas for mercy. Agito let out a heavy theatrical sigh. His friendly mask shattered, replaced by a gaze sharp enough to cut glass. He demanded the absolute truth. The sudden boss fight energy terrified the wretched man to his core. Agito pointed out the obvious. Forcing the boy's test early was a massive red flag. Stuttering like a broken record, Samoa was completely out of excuses. Agito mercilessly declared his career as a priest over. No more tarnishing their holy brand. The scammer froze like a deer in headlights. Leaning in with terrifying killing intent, Agito whispered a dark threat. He offered to rip the confession out of him by force. Want to test my patience, he grinned. Trembling in absolute terror, the defeated priest squeezed his eyes shut. It was game over, and he knew it. He spilled everything, admitting to scamming believers with impossible trials and milking them for every single coin. The crowd went wild with absolute shock. Meanwhile, Asai just stood there, hands in his pockets, completely unimpressed. Agito snapped his fingers. Guards instantly dragged the crying priest away like a bag of trash. Dusting his hands, the glorious boss turned to the furious mob. Now for the damage control, he announced with dramatic flair. He admitted the church messed up big time. This corruption scandal was a public relations nightmare. Bowing deeply, he offered a fake apology. But to keep the precious Burgo Faith's rating from tanking, he dropped a bomb. Free promotions for everyone. The entire crowd was instantly bumped to Layer 2. The arena erupted in absolute hype. Agito expertly shifted the spotlight, telling the mob to thank Kyo for exposing the rat. Instantly, a massive wave of applause hit our smug hero. The boss promised a juicy reward, later smoothly exiting stage left. Kyo narrowed his eyes. This Agito guy, definitely a final boss-level scammer compared to Samoa. Meanwhile, a mysterious girl in plain robes watched intently from the shadows. She mentally noted to reward this chaotic boy soon. Fast forward a few hours, Agito wrapped up his corporate report, highlighting how one random newbie saved their skins. If that rat had kept digging, the church's stock would have completely crashed. In a dark VIP room, shady figures gossiped. Samoa's scandal was bad for business, but this new kid, absolute gold, he was the perfect poster boy. Agito smirked, boasting that he was already 10 steps ahead. He had a deliciously dangerous proposal ready. Cut back to our overpowered main character, casually hiking up a grand staircase. Flexing a shiny Roman numeral 5 necklace, he breezed past elite guards through a lush, magical forest, skipping the tutorial and leaping straight to Layer 5. Talk about epic developer privileges. They definitely wanted him as a mascot. Hey, free loot is free loot. Our hero strutted into a ridiculously fancy mansion, kicking the doors open. Agito was waiting with that signature scammer smile. Kyo played along, tossing him a casual thanks for the massive level up. Just rewarding raw talent, Agito purred smoothly. Kyo's danger sense was tingling. This guy's aura was completely unreadable, way more dangerous than that cheap priest. Then the boss dropped the real plot twist. One more thing, he teased. Kyo raised an eyebrow. What now? Agito smiled. Because of his legendary performance, the higher-ups made a decision. He scored a VIP ticket to meet Claudia herself. Kyo's brain blue-screened. Meeting the big boss already. Talk about a speedrun. Hiding his absolute shock, the boy tightly gripped his fists to stop himself from trembling. It is an absolute honor, he lied flawlessly, slapping on a cheerful smile. Meanwhile, the villain squad was losing it. In a dark web video call, Ingolf dropped the ultimate spoiler. The reincarnated Kyoichiro was officially dead. Claudia gloated that his absence was all the proof they needed. Even Ingolf was stunned by her ruthless methods. The wicked priestess just giggled awkwardly. Hey, collateral damage is fine, as long as the pest gets exterminated. But beneath the surface, Ingolf was seething with blazing fury. He just found out she torched his entire hometown. Talk about toxic teamwork. In the corner of the screen, Nathaniel watched the drama unfold with extremely suspicious eyes. And Iwako. Trembling from the news of Kyoichiro's epic demise, he collapsed to the floor. His biggest nightmare was finally over. Boom, problem solved. Claudia smirks, bragging that the board is cleared. She tells Nathaniel it is time to plan the totally not suspicious divine gift ceremony. Ingolf narrows his eyes, sensing major red flags. Nathaniel nods like a good lackey. They agree to iron out their evil master plan at the next villain board meeting. Call ended. Ingolf immediately speed dials Kioski to spill the tea. He stresses over the undercover gig. Dude, Claudia is going to completely bust your illusion magic, he panics, acting like a worried mother hen. Kioske just grins. Oh, is my tough rival actually worried about me? He flexes that his German training made his magic absolutely flawless. But Ingolf is not playing around. He warns him to stay frosty, because Claudia and Nathaniel are definitely cooking up something wicked with this ceremony. Dropping the jokes, Kioski promises to keep his eyes peeled. He hangs up his anti-villain radar fully activated. Fast forward to the Tower of the Faithful. Kioske casually strolls into the 7th floor temple. With 3 whole days before his boss fight meeting with Claudia, it is officially detective time. But wait. He senses a very familiar aura. Well, that saves me a manhunt, he chuckles. Lurking behind a pillar like a ninja is Shirato Yuki. She hisses that he is being way too flashy and drags him away. Up in a super-secret, isolated tower room, Kioske skips the small talk. He hits her with the million-dollar question. Did you mess with the hypnosis Claudia slapped on Ingolf? Shirato flinches, totally busted. Kioski breaks down his Sherlock-level deduction. Claudia is a perfectionist. A botched brainwash spell. Yeah, totally an inside job. So Shirato had to be the saboteur, which makes 0 sense if she is supposedly a loyal minion. Her eyes suddenly well up with heavy dramatic tragedy. I absolutely refuse to let Kyoichiro die twice, she whispers. Kioski's brain short-circuits. Before he can ask, she rolls up her sleeve. Boom. A fiery, glowing crest burns on her skin, and suddenly memories unlock. 20 long years ago. A tiny girl got jumped by monsters. She accidentally went supernova with her magic. Talk about a bad first day. She had the exact same time-bending powers as him. Since her tiny body was basically melting from the overload, Kyoichiro went full hero mode. He absorbed the deadly energy himself to save her. As he held the crying kid, he saw the overload had left that exact red scorch mark behind. Plot twist of the century. The badass Shirato was that little kid. She drops her tragic backstory. Waking up, she found herself framed as a traitor right alongside Kyoichiro. Typical corrupt fantasy politics. Knowing her hero was not a dungeon-destroying psycho, she went undercover. 10 agonizing years of playing the loyal lackey, she finally got Claudia to spill the beans on her evil schemes. She earned the villain's trust perfectly. Then, during the whole Rei Ruwaki fiasco, she got the absolute wildest mission. Track down the supposedly dead Kyoichiro. Cue the dramatic background track. Reincarnation. Yeah, right, she thought. But while our boy was doing push-ups in Germany, she interrogated Karen about Kioski's vibe. The ridiculous combat style, the reckless hero complex. Ding, ding, ding. A perfect match. She bows her head, thanking him for literal decades of borrowed time. Kioske just smiles, his signature smug smile. Come on, spill the real tea. That is not everything, is it, having idolized this guy for 20 years? She decides to drop the ultimate truth bomb. She did not just see a bad future. She lived it. Clutching her chest, she begs for his overpowered help. They have to crash Claudia's lame divine gift ceremony to save the world. Kioske raises an eyebrow. Wait. You saw the future, he asks, doing the math. Yep. She pulled the ultimate cheat code. She used time magic to rewind the clock. She escaped a doomed timeline where Claudia actually ruled the globe. If they just sit around eating popcorn now, it is game over for humanity. A cold sweat drops down his face. Claudia running the world. Gross. To fix this garbage timeline, she desperately needs his help. Because, in that dark future, Kioske actually bites the dust. leaving Shirato crying over his dramatic death scene. But before flatlining, he pulled a legendary move. He dumped all his void magic into a regression spell. He ordered her to hit the reset button on reality. And she is absolutely not failing him again. So this stupid ritual is the trigger Kioski confirms. Exactly, Claudia is about to summon epic calamity beasts, wiping out thousands of innocent NPCs in one shot. The ultimate boss battle is officially on. Kiosuke's jaw practically hits the floor. Calamity beasts. 20 years ago, one of those impossible-to-kill monsters had to be shoved into a dungeon like expired leftovers. Yep, a calamity beast. And with a whole squad of these overpowered nightmares on her leash, Claudia completely rewired the world's power system. Anyone who dared to cross her, instantly deleted. Only her hardcore fanatics survived. Now our main character finally sees through this blonde psycho's grand master plan. Wasn't she supposed to be the world's golden hero? He sarcastically asks if she's tossing her saintly disguise into the trash. Shirato nods. But right then, a sudden movement steals our hero's attention. Dropping down from the bell like a ninja is a familiar face locking eyes with Kiosuke. Wait a minute, isn't that the supposedly harmless girl in peasant clothes? Shirato smirks. She recruited Isha earlier, making her the ultimate spy for tower intel. Until now, Kiosuke totally bought the sob story about her wanting to save her sweet little hometown. Spoiler alert, it was a massive lie. Claudia had actually massacred her entire family, and this absurdly giant tower. It was built straight over Isha's ruined village. The blonde villain literally paved over her childhood to build a fan club headquarters. Because of this prime evil real estate, Isha lost absolutely everything. Obviously, she's not about to forgive and forget. If this crazy lady isn't stopped right now, we're looking at a sequel to this tragedy. Claudia doesn't give a single flying flip about the massive casualty rate. That's exactly why Isha desperately needs our boy's overpowered help. The true final boss has officially revealed herself. Naturally, Kiosuke is 100% in. But it's not just about saving the world anymore. He's just as furious as Isha. He's ready to serve some serious karma. The girls look proudly at their shiny new tank. But hey, hold up, there's a tiny little catch. Does killing the final boss stop the doomsday ritual? Shirato sighs. Sadly, nope. Claudia's basically a walking battery, storing power leached from her elite cultists. Even if she kicks the bucket, that energy explodes and triggers the ritual anyway. Kiosuke isn't even surprised. If it were that ridiculously easy, his future self wouldn't have spectacularly failed. But plot twist, there's a glorious loophole. Her powers are actually connected to an amplifier. Smash the magic router, stop the apocalypse. After dying through 4 miserable timelines, this is Shirato's only solid drop of intel. The target is chilling at the top of the cathedral, guarded by an annoyingly thick barrier. The bright side. Our main character is already camping out on the 7th layer, with a VIP meeting booked with the villain. If he can distract or knock her out during this little chat, the girls can smash the relic while its shields are Elatime. Down. Sounds like a solid heist, right? Well, here's the kicker. The room is packed with high-level guards and priests, requiring maximum stealth mode. Oh, and there's another tiny stressful detail. Shirato's time travel battery is dying. Her regression respawn points are getting dangerously short. She barely skipped back far enough this time. Translation: this is their one and only final run. No more extra lives. Kiosuke takes a deep breath, hyping himself up for the ultimate carry. Because if this crazy trio wipes out, the server is officially getting wiped by Claudia. But our boy's eyes snap open with pure main character determination. He's crashing her party and canceling her script. This is quite literally humanity's final boss fight. Fail here, and it's the ultimate game over screen. That's exactly why he's ready to throw down and wreck her plans. Fast forward to nightfall. Under the cover of some suspiciously dramatic mist, the stealth mission officially begins. The trio sneaks down a dark staircase, straight into Shirato's top-secret Batcave. The walls are plastered with conspiracy notes from all her painful respawns. Time for a lore drop. Shirato recaps her miserable 4 playthroughs. In run number 1, she discovered Claudia's deranged hobby of summoning apocalypse pets. That was also the timeline, where Kiosuke first handed her the cheat code of time travel. Run number 2. She tried a direct assassination attempt. Spoiler, it flopped miserably. Even after landing a massive critical hit on the villain, the universe still said no. Claudia just laughed off the fatal damage, went totally berserk with mana, and the monsters spawned anyway, proving that the ritual operates on some annoying autoplay mechanism. In the 3rd timeline, she completely failed to locate the magic amplifier. In run 4 Ma, she finally found the stupid thing, but couldn't even put a scratch on its absolute defense. 4 loops of sheer raging frustration. Having to watch the bad ending play out on repeat would drive anyone insane. But now, She looks at her squad with a shiny glimmer of hope, because all those painful game overs finally gave them the winning strategy. Like bumping into Isha, honestly scoring this VIP meeting with Claudia, total carry by our girl. Busting the first layer's dirty secrets was all Isha's mastermind play. She totally cracked the system wide open, setting up the VIP red carpet for our boy, even dragging a high priest to the first layer. Yeah, her big brain energy. Right place, right time. Nah, pure calculated genius. Asai finally connects the dots. Without his squad's epic carry, his run would be totally doomed. Teamwork makes the dream work. Meanwhile, Shirato Sayuki basically sweat blood behind the scenes. She swallowed way more trauma and game over screens than she ever let slip to the clueless duo. Back in the original timeline, our main character literally handed her the Save the World quest. And boy, she hardcore grinded that mission. Anyway, cue the boss music. Asai declares it is time to crash Claudia's creepy ritual, smashing her shiny cheat code artifact. Absolutely mandatory. But first, Kyosuke has to play bait and stun Claudia mid-meeting. Drop the boss, drop the barrier. Easy right, Shirato already data mined the entire cathedral map so Isha can just speedrun to the artifact. But nerfing Claudia in a room full of fanatic priests, yeah, that is playing on Ultra Nightmare difficulty. Kyosuke needs to pull a literal Uno reverse spell out of his hat, one that rewrites their garbage tier destiny. While the trio plots their grand heist, Claudia is just chilling in her villain lair. Homegirl is vibing, knowing her Doom Beast mana bar is almost at 100%. But hey, a little hero crushing is fun entertainment, right? Fast forward. The squad preps for Judgment Day. Kyosuke tells Shirato to chill out. He has been mentally spamming his new ultimate skill, and it is finally max leveled. Blushing like a classic female lead, she hits him with a soft thank you. But our boy hits right back with the reverse Uno. He thanks her for save-scumming reality over and over, soloing a completely doomed server. He knows the absolute nightmare of being the only player with the strategy guide. He bet on her in the alpha test timeline, and she actually carried that trust to the finish line. He is overwhelmingly grateful, vowing to match her crazy dedication. Dropping the ultimate smooth move, he thanks her using her full government name Shirato Sayuki. Critical hit. Her face turns the color of a tomato. Emotional damage in the best way possible. Clueless Kyosuke panics, asking if he lagged out. Holding back happy tears, she admits the full name drop caught her totally off guard. Reaching out, she demands the first name basis upgrade. Just call me Sayuki. Flashing his protagonist smile. Kyosuke accepts the quest. He grabs her hand, swearing they will co-op this nightmare to the end. Sayuki beams totally recharged on motivation. Bam! Isha bursts in, spectacularly destroying the romantic tension. Flustered Sayuki waves her hands like crazy. But Isha just ignores the rom-com nonsense. She already downloaded the cathedral's entire floor plan into her brain. The Holy Trinity is officially ready for the raid boss. Kyosuke will play tank holding Claudia's aggro, while Sayuki and Isha flank to smash the shiny rock. All hands in. They lock in, ready to totally break the game. Finally, the day of the boss raid dawns. The non-playable character guards wave Asai through, sweating bullets. He prays his squad is doing better than him. They should be stealth crawling through the upper floors by now. Who knew Isha had the long-range telepathy buff? That cheat skill is going to save their lives. He approaches the boss room doors, putting all his chips on the girls. Stepping inside, he spots the mini-boss with the fancy hair. It is Agito playing the loyal dog. He waves our hero forward. Game face on. Kyosuke marches straight into the belly of the beast. Target acquired. The room is packed with elite priest mobs, just as the walkthrough predicted. And right in the center, the final boss herself, Claudia. Staring her down, Kyosuke swears he will not waste the insane respawn luck Sayuki gifted him. Looking at the wicked lady who ruined his life, his brain is working in absolute overdrive. But Claudia, she just flashes a terrifyingly polite smile, locking onto him with icy blue eyes. A random guard gets jumpy and asks if there is a bug. Claudia just smirks and says it is nothing. Oh, but it is working. Everything is going exactly to script. His illusion buff is holding strong, making him look like a totally random dude. Sure, Claudia has high-level dispel vision, but even she needs a buffering screen. Based on Sayuki's speedrun logs, he has used this exact trick twice before. Both times, it took her exactly 5 minutes to see through the glitch. But here is the catch. His ultimate finishing move has a delayed casting time, triggered by making awkward eye contact with the target. So Kyosuke just has to stare down this psycho and cast his key spell before she realizes she got trolled, his true identity. Meanwhile, Sayuki gets ready to crash the party. Peeking around the corner, she notices the security on the upper levels is still ridiculously tight. Guess it is time for some forced nap time. Our stealthy heroine stays completely out of sight while the grunts march by. Ah, the classic shift change. The fresh meat taking over the watch is completely slacking off, but not for long. Boom! The wall practically vaporizes. Someone just invited themselves into the stronghold and instantly wipes the floor with a grunt. The second guard just stares, eyes popping out of his skull. It is just past 1 in the afternoon. The absolute perfect time to strike while these rent-a-cops are nursing their food comas. With terrifying focus, Sayuki unleashes hell on the clueless mob. The dazzling combat aura exploding around her screams absolute victory. Panicking, one lackey yells to fetch Lady Claudia right this second. But while 2 goons turn around to play messenger, a shadow drops in from behind. Enter Isa. She lands with perfect comedic timing and bonks both their heads together, completely shutting down the alarm system. Flawless victory. The girls wipe out the entire squad in seconds. That juicy intel Sayuki dug up was totally worth the trouble. Now the dynamic duo just has to wait for Kioske to lock Claudia away so they can smash her shiny little artifact. Only then will that obnoxious boss room barrier shatter. Sayuki closes her eyes, beaming a telepathic thumbs up to her partner. Kioske gets the ping right as some creepy priest is tossing a holy blessing on his head. He glances up, fully aware that the whole master plan now rests entirely on his shoulders. The girls nailed phase 1, and he is definitely not going to be the punchline here. According to the cheat sheet, this little cult gathering always starts with a boring speech from the priest of the 6th tier. But plot twist. That is completely fake. Claudia is actually here to window shop for magic. The priest of the 7th tier, Sinus Lester, is secretly running a mana scanner on our overpowered hero. This is no friendly meet and greet, it is an all-you-can-eat magic buffet for Claudia. If the kid turned out to be a total scrub, she would have kicked him out instantly. Too bad for her, our boy is built different. The second he scans the power levels, Sinus Lester nearly drops his jaw. He has never seen stats this ridiculously high. Sweating buckets, the priest instantly slides into Claudia's telepathic messages, saying they absolutely must secure this very important asset. This earns a super villainous smirk from our actual hero. Boom, phase 2 is in the bag. Barely keeping it together, Claudia starts cackling like a maniac, totally creeping out her own priests. She claims she finally gets why her danger senses were tingling. Strutting right up to our guy, she dramatically announces that Kyoichiro is not dead after all. The peanut gallery of priests gasp in total shock. Well, the magical disguise starts melting away way faster than he planned. Oops. The boss lady actually grabs his chin, gives him the ultimate death glare, and purrs that the mask is off. She gloats that with his insanely broken mana pool, she can easily figure out exactly what parlor tricks he is using. Honestly, she is slightly impressed considering she totally thought he kicked the bucket against Ingolf. The blonde menace figures he has some grand scheme, but she literally does not care. If she just obliterates him on the spot, problem solved. Back in hiding, Sayuki starts panicking that their star player just got utterly busted. But Kyoichiro, he is chilling. Just as he predicted, this paranoid boss always sends her minions to do the dirty work. And right on cue, Claudia orders his instant deletion. Whipping out a literal syringe, a priest reveals their totally unfair advantage. One by one, he juices up the whole squad with shady bootleg battle steroids cooked up by Rei Luoxi. With her minions basically turning into Hulks, she thinks Kyoichiro is toast. But our guy is not about to take that disrespect. Flexing his aura, he summons a barrage of energy shards that shotgun blast the whole room. Claudia is left looking like a totally confused pigeon. Checkmate lady, everything is running on main character time now. Finally, his body is maxed out for the ultimate finishing move. A massive violet aura devours the room, swatting the leftover priests like flies. Claudia just watches, absolutely flabbergasted by his cheat skills, throwing her hands up in blind panic. His absolute domain creates a void totally cut off from reality. It is a complete magic dead zone, blocking any backup from the outside world. She is literally a fancy bird locked in a titanium cage. Sweating buckets, Claudia demands to know what on earth he is plotting with this domain trick. Kyoichiro smugly replies that he is going to smash her precious power-up toy and totally cancel the spawn event of her little calamity pets. With her shoved in the penalty box, the shield around the boss item will drop. Realizing this teenager completely read her walkthrough guide, Claudia's smug villain face shatters into pure despair. But backing up, the witch hisses if he's stuck in here. How exactly is he supposed to smash the artifact? But wait. The blonde villainess suddenly connects the dots, flashing a cheeky grin. Kyoichiro basically tells her, ding ding ding. We have a winner. Clenching her fists, she furiously demands to know if he brought a +1. Because if he did, the whole cheat code strategy makes perfect sense. He totally outsourced the artifact smashing job to his secret sidekick. Since the cat's out of the bag, our hero proudly declares his grand master plan, stopping the disaster beast spawn camp. With main character energy, Kyoichiro yells that she's stuck in this VIP timeout corner until the artifact is turned into absolute dust. Claudia's brain goes into overdrive. She remembers a certain stalkerish assistant who was always hovering around her. That girl has been missing in action for days. And remember, when the shady priestess tried her absolute hardest to force a game over screen for either Ingolf or Kyoichiro, there was zero mathematical chance that both of these guys should have walked out alive, unless someone hacked her hypnosis. The math is totally mathing. Sayuki is the sneaky double agent. Claudia is super salty. She had a 5-star review ready for this kid. If his time travel hacks had fully leveled up, he would have been the ultimate mind-controlled minion, but now total garbage tier. Honestly, she's throwing a tantrum because it feels like someone yoinked her precious crops right before harvest time. The blonde boss lady starts charging up her mana, pulling an incredibly shiny golden sword out of thin air. She threatens to slice him up and rage quit the room. Just as Sayuki warned, Claudia has been acting like a mana vampire, sucking her fan club dry during their little cult meetings. So now the crazy lady is trying to slurp up all of Kyoichiro's energy for a quick getaway. She's completely desperate to delete him and hit the exit. Claudia spams her attack buttons, but Kyoichiro's only job is to play the world's most annoying wall. As she throws a flashy combo at our boy, he just casually sidesteps everything with zero sweat. Because according to the wiki, Sayuki killing Claudia doesn't actually cancel the monster spawning event. Kyoichiro totally styles on her, teleporting right behind his very confused opponent. He knows keeping her alive is mandatory for the true ending. He just needs to stall for time while the girls go absolutely feral on the artifact. Moving like he's starring in a breakdance battle, he flawlessly weaves through her attacks, trolling her with maximum disrespect. Our hero smirks and calls her aim absolute trash. But plot twist. A massive crossbow magically spawns. Switching to range damage, Claudia starts playing a first-person shooter, her eyes popping with absolute gamer rage. One arrow nearly gives Kyoichiro an unwanted neck piercing, but he pulls a matrix dodge at the final frame and analyzes the ammo. Wait, these bolts have Bluetooth hypnosis. It's the exact same brainwashing malware she used on Ingolf. Cackling like a classic comic book villain, the blonde screams that one hit means an instant game over. She's not wrong. A mind control arrow is an absolutely broken game mechanic, but our boy is built different and just keeps dodging. If she wants a hit marker, she needs to get good. Suddenly, the blonde pauses to drop some surprise monologue. She teasingly mentions that Sayuki isn't her only loyal fanatic. She tipped off another lackey about the artifact's location, and he definitely knows what that implies for our heroines. Cut to the girls. Isha points excitedly, screaming she found the epic loot drop. It's the infamous mana-boosting superweapon, NETF, which looks suspiciously like a giant gym machine, sweating bullets. Sayuki knows they have to smash that chunk of metal immediately. But wait, a wild mini-boss appears blocking the objective. Trespassers will be absolutely wrecked. Those are Lady Claudia's strict terms of service. Meet Agito Norman, the designated security guard, and he's not letting anyone pass. Glaring with maximum edge, the guy demands to know why Sayuki, the supposedly loyal intern, is suddenly playing for the enemy team. But our girl just drops the mic, refusing to explain her character arc to a side character, just as she saw in her future vision. Norman is Claudia's #1 fanatic, and if the girls want to break the toy, they'll have to punch their way through this guy first. At first, Agito acts all heartbroken over the betrayal, but then his face lights up like it's his birthday. He claims this is the perfect chance to prove who is the superior simp. Smirking, Sayuki roasts him, saying she couldn't care less about his weird obsession. But Agito activates his tragic backstory buff. He declares he's highly motivated to throw hands because his parents were total garbage, and the only person who threw him a lifeline was the angelic Claudia. Isha immediately hits him with a reality check. Dude, she was just recruiting overpowered child soldiers, not running a charity. But Norman is totally brainwashed. He insists Claudia is his guiding star, who taught him the absolute rule of survival of the fittest. Since day one, Agito pledged his absolute soul to her, desperate to be her ultimate teacher's pet. But let's see how long that lasts. This creep only stuck around Sayuki because of her shiny time powers. Seriously, she was practically a walking target. To him, killing her now is a holy jackpot. Isha rolls her eyes at this nonsense, screaming that Claudia just wants to rule the world and unleash doom monsters. But plot twist, Agito straight up asks what the big deal is. Apparently, Psycho Lady's crazy goals equal true salvation. Delusional, much Sayuki tells Isha to stop trying to talk sense into a brick wall. Glaring daggers at him, she vows they will never let this lunatic stand in their way. Spoiler alert, Norman is not your average holy man. His fancy priest title on the 5th floor? Total fake news. He is actually Claudia's top henchman. The blonde boss lady specifically gave him guard duty because he hits like a truck. Fun fact, before time reversing, this exact same dude totally wrecked our girl in previous timelines. To Agito. Claudia is basically a goddess, and he is her #1 fanboy, ready to do her dirty work. So crushing these girls is just his daily to-do list. The duo quickly jumps into a battle stance. Isha hates Claudia's guts and absolutely refuses to lose to a crazed stalker worshipping that witch. Norman raises an eyebrow, shocked that Isha actually survived that whole village exploding incident from 10 years ago. Spitting pure venom, she demands to know why he is acting so shocked, snapping that she needs zero pity from a creep. But Agito just smirks. Pity, please. He thinks surviving that trauma means she won the lottery. The girls instantly drop their jaws at his absolute garbage logic. This fake priest insists that whatever his god wants is automatically flawless. If Claudia chose to nuke Isha's hometown, oh, that is just some premium holy guidance. And getting a front row seat to that slaughter, total blessing. Burning with absolute rage, Isha tells the trash mob to shut his mouth. Whipping out her trusty dagger, she cries out that she will never forgive this clown for disrespecting her trauma. Drawing his own blade, Agito just shrugs, claiming it is all about perspective, bro. He is just spreading the good word. Like his crazy boss says, the world totally needs a deep clean. He points his sword at Sayuki, who claps back that this guy is completely brainwashed by his fandom, and they are definitely not losing today. Smirking like a true villain, Agito dares them to bring it on. Glowing in a creepy purple aura, he calls it impossible. Then, poof, Norman vanishes into thin air. Just like Sayuki predicted, this cheater is spamming high-level moves like teleportation and invisibility for cheap sneak attacks. Sayuki has ultra-rare time powers, sure, but right now, they are completely locked up. Without them, blocking seems impossible. Agito zooms in at top speed, charging up his blade right for her. Isha spots the ninja move and gasps. But the very second the lethal sword swings, she totally sidesteps it. Norman is absolutely mind-blown. She just dodged a literal blind spot instant kill. How did she do that? He never even showed her this invisible trick. His brain short-circuits until he spots the glowing truth. A blinding golden aura that is straight-up time magic. Surprise! The girl unlocked the legendary powers that a so-called sinner shouldn't have. Proving everyone wrong, our badass heroine flexes her mastery, dancing around every single strike. Sayuki didn't just get Kyoiro's rewind ability, she also scored a broken cheat skill called minuscule vision. It literally lets her peek 1 second into the future. She isn't quite at Kyoiro's level yet, but honestly, seeing the future is still an overpowered battle hack. Isha tells Sayuki to stay on the mental group chat so they can perfectly combo their moves. Sayuki nods, locking onto their target. Agito starts sweating, remembering that Kyoiro used time hacks to predict attacks too. Oh crap, does Sayuki have the same cheat codes? Yep, Sayuki shouts a warning. Incoming from the left, boom, Isha ducks the deadly sword strike with absolute flawless precision. Norman finally realizes his moves are getting read like an open book. These two must be secretly using telepathy. Sure, the girls lack muscle power, but with pro-gamer callouts, they can literally dodge every single hit. Initially, Sayuki was totally stressing over getting separated from Kyoiro, but she just realized some epic boss fights belong exclusively to the sidekicks. Glaring a hole through their enemy, she dials in. She pings her teammate Agito is trying to run away. Not today. Tossing wind magic, Isha blocks the exit. The fake priest is shook. Sayuki is literally predicting his escape routes. This is unfair. Panicking, he throws up his sword to block the raging magical tornado coming right for his face. Boom. The strike triggers a hilariously massive explosion. His trusty sword blade hits the dirt completely shattered. Agito finally gets why Claudia kept the girl as a lucky charm. Flashing a glowing ring, he smirks. That teamwork is just a roadblock for him. Sayuki glares at her opponent. She knows that cursed ring unlocks hidden powers. And Agito, he is the ultimate simp, desperate to serve his so-called goddess. Suddenly, the priest's body starts warping. The girls watch in disgust as his dark metamorphosis transforms him into a completely ugly monster. Agito screeches that his precious goddess will finally notice him. His hands mutate into razor-sharp claws. With a single casual swing, he completely wrecks the surrounding walls, hurling massive debris right at the girls. Drunk on this ridiculous power boost from Claudia, the beast declares he will crush these fools for defying divine will. Sayuki smirks, asking her partner if she is ready. Because playtime is officially over. Thanks to Claudia's shiny ring, this priest is now a full-blown raid boss, and this is where the real battle begins. The ugly creature yells that his master's new world is almost here, and he wants VIP tickets to paradise. Anyone who stands in his way, instant deletion. That is his holy mission. He is especially furious at the traitors from the inner circle. This oversized mutant appoints himself judge, jury, and executioner. Without any warning, the beast bulldozes toward the girls. The sheer shockwave of his fat steps creates a massive crater. If that direct hit lands, they will be completely wiped out. Isha scrambles to keep her balance. But hey, a bigger monster just means a bigger target, right? She goes all in. rushing forward while charging up a massive spell. But plot twist. The monster reacts. Agito casually raises his beefy arm, tanking the magic blast like it was just a mosquito bite. Jaw dropped. Isha realizes this freak just barehanded her best attack. Sayuki watches the whole thing, completely sweating bullets. Suddenly, a giant stone pillar rips from the ground. Sayuki looks up, realizing the massive structure is flying right at her face. Agito literally ripped a building apart to use as a baseball bat. The monster swings, smashing into both girls. He leans on the pillar like a smug gym bro lifting fake weights. The mutant swells with absolute pride, bragging about the premium cheat codes Claudia gifted him. Absurd brute strength. Steel-like defense. This is the ridiculous buff of a fake goddess. Even against complex time magic, he thinks he is totally untouchable. No one beats a divine simp, right? Luckily, Sayuki used her kinetic vision to dodge the fatal blow just in time. But seriously, the ring's power output is completely broken. Dealing with this meat shield's ridiculous durability is an absolute nightmare. Even Isha's sharpest wind magic barely gave him a paper cut. Sayuki glances at her partner, who is slumped in the corner, coughing up blood from that home run swing. Brushing off the dirt, Sayuki steps right back up. With rock-solid confidence, she remembers Kyoiro's secret advice. There is always a loophole. Agito blinks his ugly eyes, totally baffled why this tiny human hasn't quit yet. Furious, Sayuki yells that the reason is completely obvious. She is going to completely trash Claudia's grand plan. The mutant scoffs, whining that he just cannot understand her logic. Why reject a perfect goddess? But Sayuki drops the absolute truth bomb with a firm voice. She is no goddess. Claudia is just a glorified tyrant who stepped on thousands of innocent people and wants to crush even more. Furthermore, her whole holy empire is built on a massive scam. She preached about creating a safe world, but literally backstabbed her own party members to steal the throne. Calling that toxic snake a goddess is the real joke. Agito finally connects the dots. He realizes Sayuki's epic grudge is entirely fueled by Kyoiro's tragic death. But in his twisted mind, that is just minor collateral damage. He was just some guy who died, get over it. He claims she and the girl from the burnt village are no different. They should totally stop crying over their useless pasts and embrace Claudia's shiny new dystopian future. In fact, they should be honored to be stepping stones. But if they want to reject his flawless logic, then he will happily crush them right now. Sayuki rolls her eyes. For a guy constantly hyping up the future, his villain monologue is painfully basic. The giant meathead looks confused. She roasts him alive, explaining that he is just a brainwashed parrot echoing Claudia's lies. He completely ignores the real weight of history and the beautiful future real people are fighting to protect. Both girls have survived absolute hell, and that trauma forged them. They absolutely refuse to lose. To a glorified fanboy who makes his whole personality about Claudia. Oh, that hit a nerve. Agito goes completely ballistic. The monster throws a violent tantrum, screaming that their pain and suffering mean absolutely nothing. He vows to rip their annoying mouths off with his bare claws. But right at that dramatic climax, Isha perfectly pitches a dagger. Sayuki catches it mid-air with flawless swagger, aiming the blade right at the beast. The monster laughs at the tiny toothpick, calling it a cheap trick, but as the raging giant charges, attacks. But Shirato does not flinch. She ghosts right past him, popping up behind Agito with a nasty surprise ready. Channeling aura into a tiny dagger, she stabs the giant monster right in the back with everything she has. The creepy priest just laughs off the poke. He tries to snatch her, bragging that a puny toy cannot hurt him. But wait, as he flexes, something feels hilariously wrong. Sayuki lands safely on the ground. Surprise, his monstrous body starts melting away, shrinking to normal. The tricky girl packed a sneaky time magic with that stab. Welcome to Inverted Fate, buddy. A spell rewriting causality, dragging the poor sucker right back to factory settings. Yep, Agito got reversed to before he wore that ugly ring. The guy is absolutely fuming. His brilliant backup plan, run away using stealth mirage. Too bad a bright green aura zooms toward his face. Isha blasts him with a hurricane wind spell. The clueless villain finally realizes they played him like a cheap fiddle. Isha casually walks up to the squishy, unarmored villain. Exactly as they promised, they refuse to lose to a total scrub. Taking a beautifully timed combo to the face, he eats dirt hard. Out cold and totally wrecked, Sayuki dusts herself off, roasting the downed priest for only obsessing over Claudia. Trash like him has zero right to preach about the future. Meanwhile, chilling by Kyoiro's portal, Claudia feels her stomach drop. Her aura plummets. The woman knows exactly what this hilarious disaster means. It seems our duo pulled it off. The overpowered mana-boosting ring is officially busted into pieces. No more holding back for our hero. Time to go completely wild. Rate this epic beatdown from 0 to 10 below. I am way too busy laughing to score it myself.